Allie's showing some love for the Bulls there.
Me and Brittany.
I'm
Did you
sorry,
say
Brittany.
Brittany?
We were just talking about it. Yeah. Sorry, but showing some love for the
It's
Bulls
okay. It
there.
happens all the time. Actually, people think Christina and Allie look more alike than
I
me,
agree.
me and Christina or me and Allie. Yeah. So
Hey, at least they didn't call you like Bailey Rail or anything. So
yeah, that's true. People say that we kind of are similar too, but
nah, I
yeah,
don't see it. I mean, I guess I can see how other people see it, but I don't see it. Maybe it's
yeah,
because
yeah,
I know you both of you guys for a while now. So
right.
What do you like the Bulls? Why are you wearing that?
This is just a sweatshirt I got. No, I'm not like a Chicago Bull fan. No,
I grew up in Chicago. I actually went to
really?
school. I went to school with Michael Jordan's kids growing up in the 90s. So
Wait, really? That's kind of
do you
cool.
go Marcus or which one? Jeffrey, Marcus?
I was 2 years older than Jeffrey, who's the oldest. He was in my sister's grade. And then Marcus was a year older than my brother.
Here I am throwing freaking Michael Jordan's kids' names out there. You impressed by that, Brian?
I mean, if there's one sports player who you're going to know their kids' names, it's probably him.
Yeah.
You got some fans in here congratulating you, Brittany.
Oh, thanks.
So we do. Okay, we got Brittany Weiss on the show today, coming off the win this weekend at Crucible. I was trying to think, and I just think about like the general, population of people who watch competitive CrossFit, and if they weren't around and paying attention, like in 2000, you and I have talked about it before. The first time that we met, but you probably don't remember.
Yeah, you came into College Hill. You told me.
Yeah. You guys were getting ready for regionals. It was
Yeah.
you and Haley were getting ready. She was still
Yeah.
16 years old at the time.
Crazy.
We were all younger then.
Yeah.
And you did make it to regionals. But I mean, how often have you done individual competitions that a live stream would exist for in your career?
Not very many.
Right.
Not individual.
Regionals, and then I've obviously competed in Dubai individually twice. Other than that, no, none.
And so I was kind of thinking that it might have been some people's first opportunity to watch you compete, like as an individual, whether they were there on site or watching online, which is kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. You're probably right.
And of course, like, maybe the Dubai, some people have seen you here and there, or the regionals. And of course, people are going to be more familiar with you on the team side of things. But I told you already, like, I was not expecting you to win the competition, and I definitely wasn't expecting you to win in that way. But I have a feeling that you had a lot more faith and confidence in yourself than I did going into the weekend.
I did.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to go back and rewatch our preview show, and I think I brought up Brittany as a dark horse, like podium, but yeah.
Are you aware of the person who picked you to win?
No.
I think it was Bill Grunler, actually.
Really?
I think it was Bill. I actually texted him on Sunday to ask him. He hasn't responded back yet. But I was listening to, I think it was him and Chase maybe previewing some of the events, and then they did some picks at the end. And I was like, Bill was like, it's Brittany Weiss. It's just Brittany Weiss. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's a competitive field, but I think it's Brittany. And I was like, okay, like that's a fun pick, but like you're not even gonna mention anyone else. And Chase basically said the same thing. He's like, no, I feel really good about Brittany.
That's funny. I mean, I feel like not a lot of people would have picked me, just because I don't really have a lot of individual experience, and not a lot of people know me as an individual athlete. So, but that's kind of cool that he picked me, I guess. I don't really pay attention to any of that.
No, and I think that, every athlete has their own, ways of dealing and interacting with the media. And for some of them, it's that they want to know and they're motivated by it either way. And there's others that are like, I'm doing my thing and I'm going to show up and compete, and, let's see how it goes. And if I do something that's worth talking about, they'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always have this perception of athletes, obviously I talk to a lot of them and spend time around them, that there's just a lot of highs and lows when it comes to being an athlete in general, and especially in the CrossFit world. Some of those stories for individual athletes have been a lot more public than others. I think that, you've been, probably most people wouldn't know too much about the highs and lows of Brittany Weiss over her competitive career. I think that coming off of this performance, you're probably on a high. But over the last like 12 months or so, how has things been for you as an athlete? If people follow you online, you've been traveling a decent amount in some different places, training with some different people, trying out some new coaches. But if you could, summarize kind of the last 12 months for yourself leading into this competition, what would you say about it?
Oh man. I feel like the last 12 months like really haven't been very easy on me. Just kind of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do, if I even wanted to compete anymore. And it really took some time like to find like my love for it again coming off the season last year. Well, not this past year, like as in 2023. I just like felt like I was so like burnt out. I know like going team is different from individual, but like I feel like if people have never really gone team, they don't really know how much it can really take a toll on you. Like it's not just about you, it's about 3 other people on your team as well. So yeah, that season really took a lot out of me, and going into this next one, like people are like, how did you not make, like coming off the weekend, like people are like, how did you not make semifinals this year? Like, how did you not do this? And I'm like, I really like didn't want to do it. Like I didn't want to make sense. Like it was not like there was never like a point where I was like, I really want to do this year. Like it was more of like, I'm just kind of like doing this to check a box because I'm supposed to do this. Like this is like what I've done for the past like, 10 years since 2013. So, I reached out to Jami back in, I think I reached out to him before Dubai of last year. And we started officially working together in January. Yeah. And then I went out to Iceland. When was that? I don't even know. It was after the Open.
It says April 10th on this post. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It was after the Open, like gearing up towards quarterfinals. And like when I was there with that group, like I started finding like, okay, like my, kind of like a fire again, just because like I had been training by myself and like, yeah, like just was trying different things, trying to get around other people just to see if I still wanted to even do this anymore. And going out there, it kind of lit another fire in me. And then coming home, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it really. It's just like, I could never, like my mind didn't want to go to that, like push really hard place. Like, it was just like, I couldn't find my why. That's basically what it came down to. Like in the past, being on a team, it was like, not just about me, it was about 3 other people. So it was like, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this because all of us are very passionate about this one goal and chasing this one dream of ours. But it was hard to find it, why I'm doing this for just me. So went through the Open, went through quarterfinals, obviously didn't make semifinals. And I honestly got a little nervous because with all the penalties and stuff, I actually came pretty close, close to qualifying. But like deep down, I like knew that it really wasn't my year. So that all went down, and then took some time off after, I'm trying to like think back. Took some time off after quarterfinals. Actually went out to Mayhem to train with my friend Aniston. She qualified for semifinals, and I just went out there for like a few weeks leading up to her, like to semifinals, to train with her and just like kind of give myself like a sense of purpose, because I was very lost. I was like, I'm not training for anything. I'm not doing anything. Like, what can I do to like feel like I'm, still involved and still helping someone in some way. So went out there, trained with her for a bit. Obviously she went to semifinals, and then it kind of just like
We should maybe clarify. It's not Jennifer Aniston that she was training with.
No.
Aniston Sudhoff, who you
No.
might have seen, was a member of the Mayhem Justice team a couple years ago.
Yeah. And she's become one of my really good friends. So went out there, trained with her, and then semifinals went on, the games went on, and then after games, I like texted Jami and I was like, I want to qualify for Rogue. Like, I was like, I think I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to just kind of go back into it, and to go back to, like, I was dealing with, not to make any excuses like of the season, but I was like dealing with kind of like some different nagging pains, like as in all of us do, like, some stuff with like my knee, and then like after or during quarterfinals and stuff, like dealing with stuff with my back. Like, it was just like, I never felt healthy. I never felt like, nothing was adding up. Like, nothing was coming together. And then after the games, I texted Jami and I was like, I want to try to qualify for Rogue. So, not being the strongest in the field, we had to play it to where I was still lifting and doing a lot of like my core strength work while still trying to prep for Rogue. And then Rogue happened. I was so close yet so far.
I mean, pro and online qualifier, I think it's the hardest one to qualify for. There's not necessarily the most number of people that do it, but it's a very small number of spots, and there's enough good athletes that will try that, and they're extremely diligent in terms of the reviewing process. So you can do 99% right and 1% can knock you up.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. And like, I gained, like, even though I didn't qualify for Rogue, I gained a lot of confidence, like, doing that qualifier, just like to win 2 workouts, 2 out of the 4 workouts was just like a huge, like it was just a really big win. I was like, dang, like, I can do this. Like, I do belong with some of the best. And then that's when I decided after Rogue, I was like, well, I tried to peak for Rogue. I'm really fit, so I might as well go to Crash and try to win it. So I texted like a few people, and I was just like, I'm calling my shots now. I'm gonna win. Like, I don't ever like promote that like out into the world, but like my close friends, like I would like text them and be like, mark my words, like I'm gonna win this competition coming up. So and so many people texted me after and were like, dang, you really called it. I was like, yeah.
Was that before you saw any of the workouts?
No, I think maybe towards like my mom, like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna win Crash. But like when the workouts came out and I saw the workouts, I knew there was gonna be a couple that weren't gonna end in my favor, or definitely not be like a highest, maybe middle of the pack type workout. But when I saw the workouts, I was like, okay, I know I can do this.
Before this year, how familiar were you with the Crash Crucible competition?
Not at all. So I didn't even plan on doing Crash, to the point where, so my sister, Allie, was actually trying to qualify for Crash this year. And then when she told me that she was doing it, I was like, well, I might as well do it too and try and push you. So that's when I signed up and did them. Like, I didn't even know the Crash. I didn't even know what it was. Like, I had never even heard of it before.
Yeah.
So
GR's got to work for that marketing team.
Yeah.
Did they?
I mean, maybe it's because I've lived on the West Coast for so long. Like, I feel like this is a big, like, also like, it's on the East Coast, so wasn't really paying much attention to it. But
well, there's also just this thing, and it's something that Patrick and I have known and have been trying to address, but it's it takes more than just us to do it. Is there's not a, like, if you someone was gonna ask you, hey Britt, you do that CrossFit thing, like, where can I watch that?
Yeah.
what would your answer be?
Like as in,
I want to watch competitive CrossFit. Where do I go to watch it?
oh, where would I tell someone to go to watch it?
Yeah.
Like from home? I would
Yeah.
go on YouTube and type in like the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Just CrossFit Games.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
If they wanted to watch it live,
But if I told you that I've been at 40 competitions in the last 20 months, all of which were live streams, would you have any? And obviously, there's only 2 CrossFit Games during that time. Would you ever know that?
No.
Yeah.
Right. And there's not a lot of like cross promotion of people.
Right.
Like, people aren't telling people about that. And so I've streamed 4 CrossFit Crash events in the last 2 years. I didn't do this one because I wasn't welcome to be a part of it, but I've streamed his team competitions and his individual ones for the last 2 seasons.
Dang, really? Yeah. See, I don't.
And Fittest of the Coast that we were talking about, I streamed that one last year too, and I'll do it again this year.
Okay. Yeah, I saw your name on it for
basically, I realized that there are a ton of great communities that are doing not just CrossFit, but creating competition environments from, local or regional to state and to country to, continental wide. And a lot of them are very difficult to find. And there's a lot of up and coming storylines that can be told, athletes that can be highlighted in those fields that will, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line be a known entity in the sport. But we don't have that. We don't have an opportunity to like learn about those or see the roots of those people maturing as athletes.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
It's typically the only time you learn anything about an athlete is during the game season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's game season, it's very segmented. I mean, you have open, you have like a month, 2 months off, but during that time, some people do some competitions and you have quarterfinals and then semifinals. But usually it ends up being a long season, but it's so spread out. So where do you tell these stories? I mean, there's competitions going on all the time. So that's kind of like what we've been doing. And you are a perfect example of someone who, people know from the team scene, but they don't know, but that's only from Invictus and you're with Invictus. So, where else?
Here's a new fan, Johnny, a new fan of yours from watching this weekend.
Where else would people learn about you, this journey of yours as an individual athlete, unless there's, live broadcasts or live or just people telling their story. And that's kind of
I actually, like when I was interviewed one time or one of the times at Crash this weekend, like I think people thought I was still with Invictus.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy, you know what I mean? So it was like, I don't know. It was nice to be able to share like what I've been doing now. And like, because no one knew that I was working with Jami. I mean, very few people I think really knew.
You know who knows?
Yeah. Huh?
We know.
Yeah, I knew you guys knew. Yeah.
Did you see that? I don't know if you've rewatched the broadcast, but I think I pissed off John Young because he and it's it wasn't, I would have meant to piss off John Young, but he mentioned like Brittany Weiss with the program. So I sent him a message and he showed it on air. It's like, it's the training plan.
He said it was part of the program.
Yeah, and I know it's a simple mistake, but it's like it's one of those things. So if you knew about that'd be like,
it would be like saying he's with HWPO and he's with Mayhem, except in Europe.
It's a European version of that, and these coaches work so hard. And I mean, you've seen it from Jami. He works so hard to develop what he has and stuff like that. It'd be a shame that just like if people didn't know that. And I think you do such a great job of that. I mean, you and any disciple of Jami says that. I mean, Con Porter is a Jami disciple, and all he talks about is Jami. BKG, Annie, you do a great job here doing it as well, especially on the U.S. side. And same thing with like John Singleton, the program. I mean, his athletes would, they try very hard to give credit to the training program, the coaches, and but you're right. Jami is one of those, and me and Brian have been talking about Jami for a while. I mean, ever since I was able to go visit him and see him at work in 2 years ago, 3 years, was that 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago in Iceland when he was training that Reykjavik team. I've been a big fan and just watching him work, and I'm sure we can talk about.
Brittany will know exactly what year that was.
Yeah.
I know she knows exactly. She knows exactly.
Yeah, honestly though, yeah, Yami's amazing. I mean, I knew like when I was trying to find like a new coach coming out of after I had left Invictus, like I didn't want to be a part of like a huge big training camp again. Like I felt like for me as an athlete, I needed more like really like individualized like programming for myself and like what I needed to do and get better at. Because or I wasn't or the goal that I have like was never going to happen. Like it's just like I needed someone to really pick me apart and really help dial in on some of the things that I needed to work on, because my weaknesses weren't just like middle of the pack. Like they have always been like what is holding me back from actually getting to where I want to be. So yeah, and he cares more than anyone. It's like, and not just, he doesn't just care like for me as like Brittany the athlete, but he cares about me as like Brittany the human, which makes it like even more special. Like it's always, yeah, it's not just about like the gym and like training and this and that, but like, you know, he's one of those coaches that actually asks like, how are you doing? Like you.
And you can't fake that or hide that. That's just a genuine part of being a person or a coach that and so there are several other coaches in the CrossFit space that have that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
In your lack of familiarity with Crash Crucible prior to this year, did you have any idea what P-score was or that it was going to be used there?
No, I did not.
Do you have any idea what it is now?
Yes, I have an idea of what it is now. Actually, like before the final event, I'm still really good friends with Jen Ryan from Invictus, and she was just texting me and she was like, with this scoring, you just need to stay close to Lydia, okay? You just need to stay close to her. It doesn't matter. You don't need to win it. You don't need to blow it out of the water. Like, just stay close. And I was like, okay, got it. Like, but that girl, she's a firecracker. That girl is unbelievable. Like, I cannot believe she's only 20 years old. She has a huge, like, such a big, bright future ahead of her. She was incredible all weekend.
Yeah, we got she got second place there last year, and we did a podcast with her following the competition last year, and it was good she was in the car, so audio was okay, but what she was saying was really fun to listen to and to learn about her as she was only 19 then.
Yeah.
She had a really good
like her mindset, just very mature, very when it comes to competition. I mean, you know, at some point I want to be like, hey, you're a 19-year-old girl, you know, you can be a 19-year-old girl, but you know, it does look like she has fun out there. So that's a cool thing. She looks like she's having fun.
She gets the crowd going. She has a lot of fun. Yeah. And I don't know what she does, but that last round in any workout or like last 90 seconds, like I'm like, what do you do like to turn it on as much as she does? I'm just like, it's impressive. It's impressive. Like, for example, on that run deadlift burpee workout, at Crash, like I had Haley Murillo yelling at me. She was like, you need to be at least 6 burpees ahead of her when you get in there on your last round, or you're going to be in trouble. And I was like, got it. Like,
yeah. And
her last deadlifts look better than the first deadlift.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. She's amazing. Yeah. She really is.
Well, I mean, and you know, like when you see something, when you say something like that about someone, it means something to me different than when I say it about them, because you've been there, you know, you've been 20 years old and competing on a stage, you know, with women that are 5-10 years older in front of thousands of people, you know, that people are watching online. She had a great semifinal this year. She over exceeded what I thought was possible for her with the programming. Like her size and weight are not limiting her in the way that you would expect that, you know, against some of the bigger, stronger, older women in the field. And for, you know, so for me to hear you say that is like it's a very high level of praise and recognition.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, yeah, she really is. She's incredible. And I was talking to her mom, and her mom introduced herself to me during one of while I was watching Lydia's heat, because I was like in the previous heat before her on day 2. And yeah, her mom and her friend kept telling me how competitive she was, and she loves this sport so much. And it was yeah, she comes from a great family. They're all really sweet. So
And she is
yeah.
coached by Perrin Bear. I don't know if you know Perrin at all,
I
but
don't know her, but I don't really know that group very well.
Training Think Tank.
Yeah.
Perrin she goes to a lot of competitions. I think you'd enjoy talking to her. We had her on actually to preview the Crash Crucible this year. She came on as a guest to preview it with us. She's a great like mind, great female coach in the space. You know, she hasn't had someone win the games, you know, like Caroline Lambert did, but she coaches some top level athletes and does a great job. So, you know, you had said that you saw some of these workouts and you knew that this was going to be good for you. You had, you know, mostly good workouts throughout the weekend, but obviously the performance you did at the chest to bars and the pill, whatever work stands out. I'm assuming you knew that would be a good workout for you. I mean, I've always thought you're great at chest to bar pull-ups in general. And Patrick was telling me, he's like, well, she's going to be more comfortable with what's basically a segment of a worm than anyone else out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a fun workout.
That was on the second day, right?
Yeah, it was on day 2, and it was like
day 2.
Yeah, and I was in like, I don't even remember what I was. I think I was in 13th or something coming into day 2, and I knew that if I executed that workout like how I knew I would, that would really set me up for a great rest of the weekend.
By the time that workout was happening, did you understand how P-score worked and realize that, wow, if I like do great on this, I can really hurt the field?
Yeah, I did. Because I had someone come up to me after and they were like, dang, Brittany, you didn't really have to do us that dirty or something. And then I went in and like saw how my score was like, it was like me and Carolyn Prevost, I think. And then after that, like I was like 1024, and I think like Carolyn Prevost was like 1050 something. And then after that, it was a pretty big drop off. So that was like the first workout. I was like, okay, I got it now. This makes sense.
And from a points perspective, you can't do any better than 100. You're going to get 100 if you win. But the gap from you to Caroline yielded her 93 points, where in a traditional scoring, she would get 96. And then the next group of girls were getting like 85, 83 points. And then 5th place was less than 70 points, which was Kyra Milligan. Whereas in the traditional scoring, she would get 84. So you're caught. And then everyone else is obviously filtering down from there. And obviously Colton also had a great workout, a couple of workouts like this, where he just creates this massive separation from the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I was curious your perspective now, especially knowing that you didn't really understand it or know about it. You got there, you know, you saw it, and then you were able to really use it to your advantage. By the way, I don't think that sounds like a fun workout at all.
I was really looking forward to that workout.
Ooh, but before that, I thought, is 100 chest to bar pull-ups too much for elite level athletes in a one workout during a 3-day competition?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I had a few people send me that, and I certainly could understand it if they're like, oh, well, there were 100 chest to bar pull-ups and 20 pegboards and like 10 legless rope climbs. Like, okay, if you look at the total pulling volume, but I don't think it was out of place in the weekend. And I think actually that high volume chest to bar pull-ups is not tested as often as it should be for the top athletes.
Yeah, I agree, because it's almost like a benchmark, 100 chest to bar pull-ups. I think every CrossFit athlete's probably done 100 chest to bars for time. So it's almost like a benchmark.
I think like when you see 100 in a workout, that's like actually a separator. Like, you know, like if it was anything less, I think that a lot of girls can like are relatively the same, right? But when you see like high volume like that, like that's definitely going to be something that separates like people in a workout, I think.
I'll tell you this, based on studies that we've done, chest to bar pull-ups with barbell cycling as a combination, especially if it's snatching or thrusters, is like one of the strongest correlates of combinations of movements relative to overall place in competitions, like in the history of the database that we have available. So if you're really good at chest to bars and thrusters, or chest to bars and snatching, cycling those things, it's usually a good sign that you're just pretty good in general.
Got it. Yeah.
All
the data. Love it.
So So I've seen some like kind of bits and pieces of this a conversation about the programming at Crash this year. And you already acknowledged it. You know, you're not the strongest athlete in the field. I've told you before that, but based on your body type, you've gotten stronger than I really ever thought was possible that you would get, which obviously can't happen without a ton of hard work, commitment, and discipline. But I look at this and I have and I think Hiller mentioned this kind of briefly. Is like there were heavy dumbbells for reps. There were heavy deadlifts at increasing reps for reps. You know, you had to do a lot of volume with the pill. You had to move this awkward, heavy sled. You had these overhead squats at the end. I think strength was tested plenty in this workout, but I was curious of this competition. But I was curious if you or any of the girls had talked about just the programming at Crash, either in isolation or relative to other competitions.
Yeah, I think that, and not just saying this because I won, I think that this was the most well-rounded, like tested group of events in a CrossFit competition in a while. I think you got a little bit of everything. Like you got some skill, you got some heavy, you got some long, you got some short. And it was all a mixture. Like even like something like a 5-inch deficit handstand push-up. Like I feel like we never see stuff like that, you know, and like these are certain movements that are definitely going to throw people for a spin. And like, how often do we really see like a 70 pound dumbbell if it's not at the CrossFit Games? Like, I feel like we don't see things like that. So like, I like look at it and I'm just like for myself, I'm just really proud like with how I did, because I personally thought like it was such a great group of tests, as in like it, like you said, it tested everything. Like it's like I said, like I'm not the strongest in the field, but like did I handle those 245 pound deadlifts like pretty well? Like I would say that I did, you know. So
Britt, when you came into the weekend, well, obviously, you know, your training, your ramp, I mean, seemed like you were doing all the right things. And then I guess you caught a little bit of a bug the night before that first event. Did that affect your first day at all?
you know, I don't really like to make any excuses, so I'm not going to sit here and say that it affected my first day at all, because I knew like that first workout, yes, there's 30 ring muscle ups in it, but you also have 30 dumbbell snatches and 30 dumbbell clean and jerks with a 70 pound dumbbell. Like these like top level girls, everyone is going to be the same on something like ring muscle ups. Like it's just like we're all good, you know. So I think it just comes down, like it just came down to the dumbbell for me on that. And like in practice, I did not come even like that was not where I expected to even finish. Like 11, I think I finished in like 11:01. And like when I was testing that workout, I was like texting Jami, I was like, I think I need to break the muscle ups. I think I need to do this because this is not happening here. And that was actually the only workout that I didn't test fully through, because I was like, I just cannot, I cannot test this workout. So I think the most I did was 2 rounds of it. And like, we did like the previous weeks we were doing progressions, and I did like 5 sets of like 6, 6, 6. And then I did like 4 sets of like 8, 8, 8. And then he had me do 2 rounds of it. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not, no more. We're just going to do the 3 rounds on game day.
Do you like knowing the workouts, you know, a few weeks ahead of time, or would you rather wait, not know at all?
That's a good question. I feel like I like the workouts before, but it doesn't need to be 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
Because then we're doing the same movements for 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I'm over this. Like, let's just compete already.
Thoughts from Lynn here. Lynn is specifically talking about the deadlift. For the men, it was heavy and a separator. For the women, it didn't seem to matter as much for anyone other than Carolyn. And she wants to clarify, she is not an athlete. Mediocre CrossFitter thinks the deadlift weight should have been heavier. Thoughts?
When you're running 3K and you're doing 75 burpees over over what was it, the yoke, and you're also doing deadlifts, I think 245 actually felt like 315. So I think 245 was plenty.
Yeah, it definitely showed on the broadcast, especially in your heat and the men's heats too. Yeah, you know, it works.
I think you're just looking to it like a cumulative volume. Like it's just like, I mean, that would be how many deadlifts? 45 deadlifts at 265. I mean,
It's a lot.
that's a
And
lot.
I think a lot of people, they look at that and they don't see the strain that's putting on your central nervous system as well.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
running the burpees, running the deadlift. I mean, those are all movements that, at that volume where your nervous system's just shot.
Yeah. After like my lower back, I was like, I would like lay down. Everything was like this, like in a ball.
It's a nasty combination, running burpees and deadlifts. I used to
love
make
that
football
workout,
players
though.
do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, SPM, for the support. Appreciate you as always.
That's
After the
pounds, right? Or
first,
is it-
yeah, he's got the pounds.
Yeah,
I'm going to
pounds.
need some of those in a month.
Yeah.
You will too, Patrick. After the first day, Brittany, you're in 13th place with about the half of the points that you could have potentially earned on day one. That basically is putting you in the third heat. It was only 6 people per heat. But you're kind of in the same heat as Fisa Gaffi and Kyra Milligan, also Lindsay Lane, who won the competition last year. What's the headspace after one day of competition?
I knew that day one wasn't going to be my best day. And I was actually really happy going into day 2 to at least have Fee in my heat, because I knew on that chest to bar workout, like she's just as good, if not better, at chest to bar than I am. So I knew that she was definitely somebody that was going to push me in that first one, because sometimes when you're like ahead, it's like you have this you have to remember that there's 2 heats after you, but it's hard to do that at the same time, because when you're ahead, you're like, okay, like I got this. But just to have somebody that close to you the whole entire time just pushed me to go even harder, which was nice. So.
And it is nice. That's great to have like that kind of comfort of someone that has similar skill set.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this morning. I don't know if you remember, you said you started CrossFit in 2013. There was a workout that year at the games, and Froning was not in the final heat. It was like the 21:15.9 of barbell progressions, deadlifts, cleans, shoulder overhead, pull-ups, chest to bars, bar muscle up. And a lot of people back then and since have said, like, that's the only time we really saw Froning like send it, really do the best he could do, because the top 10 guys were coming up and he was definitely not interested in being in heat 2 anymore. And I was curious if you had a similar mindset, if you're like, there's 10, 12 more women to go. I'm looking up the leaderboard. I see games athletes, Kerstetter, Stanley, Prevost, team people that you're familiar with, Hardy, etc. People knocking on the door like Lydia Fish, Jordan Chefs. Like, did you think to yourself before that, I got to send a message here?
Yeah. And I knew that was a workout that I could do that on. Like it was, I was very confident going into that workout. I need to go into every workout like that, because I feel like as the competition went on, like every workout, I was like, okay, I'm finding my confidence. Like I'm finding my confidence. I belong. But I feel like definitely going into that one, it's just like being on a team. People were like, it's not the exact same, but like the loading, like that I'm so used to having it on each side. Like it's just, it just feels like a goblet. Like it's not any different for me. Like just, I mean, gosh, when I was on team, like we would warm up with like 800-meter worm walks around the Invictus block,
Thank you,
So
Slim
like,
Dancer.
yeah. So like just having that sit on my shoulder, like I was talking to Mackenzie Riley before the workout. She was like, I think you should break it up, or the first 50, and then she was like, unless you want to scare some people, do all 50 unbroken. But in my head, like I knew that I wasn't going to set that thing down, at least for the first 50. Because I was just like, I needed to push the pace, for one, because there was 2 other heats after me. And 2, I was just really, really confident in my ability on the chest to bar pull-ups, that doing 50 of those unbroken wasn't going to change how I was going to, how those were going to impact me at all. So
did that mindset that there's 2 heats remaining and I need to send this kind of message here last throughout the workout? Like when you were in the second half of the workout, you're doing the chest bars and you're doing the thrusters, are you still thinking that?
Yeah, for sure. I was, and I heard my mother was screaming so freaking loud the whole entire workout. I was like, just let me count myself down. Like I'm like a counter. Like I I'll do my set, I'll come down, I'll take a deep breath, and like I like people are like, how do you like count yourself? I'm just like, I say like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'm just back on it, you know? So it's just like, sometimes the whole screaming, like I hear you, but I need to just focus on what I'm doing because I have a plan.
That just makes me laugh so much, because that's like I watch people on the sidelines just as much as I watch them on the floor, and the way they interact with their athletes, whether it's their family or their coach. And I always wonder, like, is there a conversation beforehand, like, Mom, cheer me on, but like if I'm taking a break, that's intentional, and support me in that. And then it's like 3, 2, 1, go, and she just forgets everything.
She does. And then she told me after, she was like, well, I was looking at the clock and I was making sure you weren't resting more than 10 seconds at a time. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. But I just needed a second. Okay.
For those that know, that don't know, is that your mom, who obviously that's your best friend, but your mom is speaking from experience. She does a lot of high level competitions,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she does. She loves it. She loves to compete. I think she was so stressed out all weekend. I think she has a hard time being on the other side. But don't we all? I don't know. I feel like anytime I'm on the other side screaming at somebody, I feel like I'm more nervous like on the sidelines than I am out there.
I actually have a pretty cool picture of you, and I need to send it. It's from the Legends competition in Arizona. You remember that one?
Oh gosh, yeah, my mom. Yeah, probably something to do with my mom, right?
Competing. Yeah, and you're actually I have a good picture of you screaming at her.
Oh, see, yeah, we all scream. It's just like it's hard not to sometimes.
Actually, I wanted to talk about this at some point. I think it's a perfect time. Can you just share a little bit about how CrossFit has changed your family?
Oh man. So gosh, how did we even start CrossFit? Okay, so me and my sisters were gymnasts growing up, and my mom would come to every single practice. It was a 4-hour practice every single day. She'd drive us up because the gym that we went to was like 40 minutes from our house. So we would all get in the car, all drive up. I'll go to practice, and like every day my mom would just sit there and watch our 4-hour practice, and like day after day after day. So finally my gymnastics coach actually went up to my mom and was like, hey, like you should start doing something for you during this, during these 4 hours, instead of just like watching your kids. I know you love to watch them and support them and this and that, but like you should take an hour for yourself and you should go try the new gym that's across the street. And it was a new CrossFit gym in the area. So my mom actually started CrossFit before any of us did. We were all still in high school. Well, I was in high school. I think Allie was in middle school. But we were all still in gymnastics, so we weren't doing both. And that's when my mom started going over there. She would drop us off at practice, then she would go do her hour of CrossFit, and then she'd come back and she'd sit and watch us the remaining of the time. But so she started it first. And then when I graduated high school, I knew that I did not want to do gymnastics in college. I was so burnt out from just being somewhere for 4 hours. And like, it was I just wanted a life, really. Like all through high school, I think I went to like one high school football game. Like I went to prom my senior year. Like I really didn't experience like what normal high school people experience. Just because we couldn't miss practice. And if we missed practice, we got this happened. We got in trouble here. So I literally lived in the gym, went from school to gymnastics for 4 hours, went home, did my homework, went to bed. And that was Monday through Friday. And then we also had Saturday practice. So that's why I could never do anything on Fridays. But anyways, wanted a life in college. But then after high school, I didn't realize how much I'd missed like the competitive side of things and like staying in shape. And I went after my freshman year, and I did not just gain like the freshman 15. It was more like the freshman like 30. Like I was yes.
No way.
Yes. Wow. So I enjoyed my first year.
I didn't even know you could gain but the body type you have could gain 30 pounds.
Oh gosh, yeah. I wish I had a picture, but I had a little bit of too much fun my freshman year of college, and then I was like, okay, Yeah, as I should. And then I was like, I need to get back to it. So I started going to the gym that my mom went to, and actually like didn't hate it, like did not like it at all at first. I was like, I have to do this for time. Like I have to lift this weight and do this. Like me and Allison would literally go back. Like it got to the point where my mom would like I wanted to go try it, right? So I was like, let me try it. But then my mom was like forcing us to go to it. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like you're forcing me to do it. So me and Allison would actually go like in the back corner and like the workout of the day or whatever. And we would start it and we'd be like, okay, let's only do 8 reps this round. Like, you know what I mean? Like we would like, it was not something that we found enjoyable, like doing this for time. I was like, I just want to like go for a run or do this and that. So, that all went, and then I did like some like competition that was like my mom was like, you need to go do this competition. I was like, whatever, okay, fine. And then I ended up winning that competition. I was like, okay, maybe I could be kind of good at this. And then went back to college for my sophomore year, joined a gym out there, CrossFit Tier 1 at the time. I don't even know if they're still around. Went to regionals on a team with them in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, CrossFit tier, it might be on my, yeah, CrossFit Tier 1. Went to CrossFit, but I went to regionals with them on a team, and I like still couldn't even do like a muscle up. Like I don't even know how I ended up on this team, but I somehow ended up on this team. But I will say CrossFit changed my life in the way that like I got my priorities straight, as in like I used to be a big partier. In my freshman year. So CrossFit changed like my outlook on, you know, being healthy and staying in shape and this and that. But I also think that my freshman year of college, it was more of like, I'm doing this because I didn't get to do this in high school, you know? So, yeah, then my sister got into it, and then she, you know, went to the games as a teenager, and it just made us all very.
Well, she didn't just go to the games.
What'd you say?
She did more than just go to the game.
That's true. She won the games as a teenager in, I don't know, 2016. But
That
now
was
we
my
all
first
share
year. That was my
passion.
first year going to the games as a fan.
Really?
And we watched all the divisions because they were early in the weekend that year. So that's how I first found out about you. Just by watching your sister, and then I was like, oh, interesting. Oh, wow, she has this. Oh, her whole family does this.
All of us do it, yeah. But it's just brought us all close. Christina, my littlest sister, she'll do it. She does it for like, she doesn't ever want to compete, but she'll do CrossFit. She'll take class. And my dad does it in our garage. He like refuses to actually go to a CrossFit gym, but it has made us all very close, and we all share the same passion and love for fitness and CrossFit. So yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that little history.
Yeah.
I mean, people who train in affiliates will know of families where, you know, the whole family is participating in some way. And it is really cool when, you know, that doesn't have to be the case for everyone, but it's also, of all those thousands of families that might be doing that, there's very few of them who will have even one athlete who can make a name for themselves as a competitor. And for you guys to have multiple, I'm sure it's a special thing, you know, for each of you individually, but also as a family.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Patrick?
You brought Christina in terms of how much of your experience as like you and Allie both as like professional athletes, I guess as professional as you can be, how much of that did you kind of like, because she was a high level gymnast in college, how much of that did you like? I mean, athletes go through burnout sometimes. And I feel like you and Allie have kind of gone through your different phases of burnout when it comes to CrossFit. I mean, do you guys kind of play like the older sister to her and be like, hey, you know, this is what we've learned from our sport, you know, just have fun with it? I mean, how much advice does she seek you out for advice when it comes to stuff like that?
Yeah, she does. I mean, Christina, she was on the gymnastics team at the University of Pittsburgh. She had a really hard 4 years there. Yeah, she really did. So she was, she came to, I feel like, us a lot for advice and this and that. Like she is hands down, like, kind of like me, like the hardest worker in the room, but doesn't feel like she ever really like gets the recognition that she deserves. Like, as in, like, you know, you have to, when you're in college and you're on a gymnastics team, you have to make lineup. Like, you have to make, you know, they pick you the night before or whatever to, like, if you're going to do beam or you're going to do floor, or you're going to do vault. And, you know, she worked super, super hard. And I think she was cut short in a few more ways less than, you know, what she deserved. But yeah, I think it also has to do too, like with, I mean, college sports are hard. I was never obviously a collegiate athlete, but I've heard people talk about, like, you know, college sports aren't easy. And I think it takes a toll on you when you have to continue to always, like, you always have to feel like you're proving yourself, you know, like I'm proving myself to actually make lineup and this and that. So she came to us a lot. And I'm honestly just really proud of her just for sticking through it and sticking it out, because that was definitely a hard time. She actually had an extra year to do just because she was part of that COVID year, but she ended up not taking it, which I think was smart. I think she was kind of ready to move on from the sport. Sport of gymnastics isn't easy, you know, like you're being judged from at age 5 when you step out on the competition floor. You, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you get anywhere a score from a 0 to 10. Like, you're having to be what they call perfect. So, yeah, I mean, anyone that has done gymnastics, I think, can agree with me in that sense that you're just, it's a hard sport.
Well, sorry to break it to you, but you're the only one on the podcast who didn't play a collegiate sport. So, Patrick,
really?
we got one thing athletically against Brittany.
That's funny. Yeah.
This is an interesting question. I haven't heard many athletes talk about this. So you won that workout, the purgatory, in your heat, and there's 2 more heats to go. And you know a lot of the girls out there. Are you rooting against them? Are you watching the clock and be like, come on, just keep ticking a little faster? Like, it's kind of a unique situation to be in.
It is.
6-person heats is rare.
Yeah, it is. Gosh, for the pill workout, as soon as that workout was done, like as soon as I finished it, I like had a lot of confidence that no one was going to beat that time.
Damn.
I really did. Like when it comes to like, I don't know. I just knew that going into that workout, like that was like my jam, like my wheelhouse. Like if there was a name, like to put like my name on one of those workouts, it was definitely that. But I have been in a situation where, like, I mean, yeah, you always want to win, and it's hard to being on the sideline, not against like the top people doing it. So it's like, was my best enough or not?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping you would say, because that's perfect. Like, there's this confidence, and there's also this wonder or doubt. Like, was it good enough? And only Caroline Prevost even came within she was about 30 seconds behind. It was another 30 or 40 seconds to the next person. So
she did scare me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was watching her and I was like, okay, is she gonna put down these thrusters? Because if she doesn't put down the thrusters, she'll probably beat me. But if she does, I think I'm okay.
That's the moment where you're like, come on, just drop it. Like,
that's
take
also
seconds.
the moment. Yeah, that's also the moment too where I wish I was next to her, because if you know what I mean, if she was, like I said in that workout with Lydia, like I was so glad that I did that workout with Lydia, because, or not wait,
Fee.
What?
You did it with Fee and Lindsay.
And Lindsay, yeah. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
The next, go ahead, Patrick.
Did you watch any of the men's competition?
Not really.
Yeah. Were you aware of like the kind of like the storylines playing out? I mean, it seemed like, obviously it happens all the time where it seems like the men's, there's a little bit more shit talking going on, where the women are a little bit more nice and like, you know, whatever, you know, it just seems a little more decorum. But
all I heard was something about Colton Mertens and Taylor Self going something with Chris. I had something with Chris. I was like, I didn't watch stay actually after the final girls heat to watch any of the guys. If anything, I put it on like when I got back to my Airbnb, but like I don't even
Actually,
into
and
that.
they went like quite a bit after you, because there was
Yeah.
always Masters
Yeah,
women,
Masters,
elite women,
yeah.
and then there was the Masters heats, and then 6 heats of men, and they're the last one, or 5 heats of men, and they're the last one. So it was like hours later that they were always doing the same workout.
Yeah. Oh, and then I heard something about Colton's interview, and everyone was like, "Did you hear Colton's interview?" I was like, "I have no idea what you guys are talking about." Like,
Well, it's just in general in life, men or male drama and female drama is very different entities. And for the most part, actually, it was one of the cool things about Tier Cup this year is that the athletes kind of said, yeah, I mean, I've been competing at competitions with her for 10 years, but I don't really care what's going on the women's side, and I definitely don't get involved in that. So to be on a team where now I'm around the top women on my team and competing against the top women from other team.
yeah.
But I didn't think too much about it until a couple of years ago. But on the team side of things, there's men and women, and there's probably a totally different type of drama.
Yeah. There's drama everywhere. Everywhere you go. You're never not going to get it.
Well, and I mean, a couple comments are in here about it was, I guess you found yourself in some drama regarding, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Danielle Brandon put up a post saying and we can't confirm if it's you or not, if that's who should repost it, but
To
it's
be
like,
honest with you, I had no idea I don't follow her. I had no idea that post was even put up. Someone actually DM'd my mom on Instagram and said, "Hey, if you see this post, like, tell Brittany not to be upset about it." And I was like, "You're not hurting any feelings."
Yeah.
I don't.
This
At the end of the day, individual and team are two separate things, 100%. But like, we've both been to the CrossFit Games. I guess I could word it a little bit differently that I'm a team CrossFit Games athlete. But I'm like, why dull on somebody else's shine? I'm just not that type of person. I'm like, it is what it is. I didn't really care. It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
In general, there's just been this kind of negative energy in the CrossFit space, with people constantly kind of doing these types of things, athletes, training camps, media, whatever. And I just always go back to I think it was what Aaron Rodgers said. It's like, I didn't ask their opinion. I don't care what they think. If I cared, I would ask.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I would have never seen that if someone didn't, like, no one even personally messaged me about it. So I messaged my mom.
Yeah, and it's also just such an interesting thing. You know, there are a lot of things that I can't keep up with everything in the CrossFit world. Nobody really can. Maybe a team of people can do better than one, but there's also things that I just am not interested in,
Yeah.
and I don't care about. But when something happens in those realms and it's about you, it always kind of ends up making its way back. And
Yeah.
I think, like, just like anything, like, I try to be prepared for how I will deal with something that it's unpleasant that's said about me if it happens. But most of the people that I'm close with are like, hey, if you don't have haters, you haven't made it.
That's true.
Yeah. I think I'm not, like I said, we haven't talked to DB about it at all, but it's just kind of one of those funny things. Like, it kind of goes back to what we talked about before in terms of the coverage. So here's, one of the most well-known CrossFit athletes is, watching this competition and wondering who you are.
I think maybe it had something to do with. Yeah, I think it maybe had something to do with. I didn't go back and watch like any of the live stream, but maybe someone said they were apparently talking about like, if people thought that team athletes are the same as individual athletes, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, this is like drama that I just wanted to go and compete. I don't.
Yeah. And I kind of made a statement about that. I think I sent a comment up to him because I know there are some certain analysts, people, broadcasters, they've been very critical of team athletes who go individual. I mean, and they, and I always, and what I said for you is like, it takes time. You go from this life where you're depending on 3 other people. You're doing a quarter of the work. Training is a lot different. You just can't automatically get success going. I mean, it very rarely happens from a team athlete, one is especially as successful as you are, to go right into individual, and then they're you know, and I think it's one of those things like, Jorge's been, yeah, he hasn't made the games as an individual, but he's had success as an individual athlete.
For sure.
Same with Devin, same with you look at someone like Kelsey Keel, Andrea
Mhm.
Nissen, Caleb Williamson. I mean, some of these high end athletes, they do well. But I think that's just part, and that's part of the media's fault, where it's like, oh, there's a reason why they're a team athlete. They're not good enough. No, I don't think it's like that at all. In my
It's just,
opinion,
yeah, it's just, they're two completely different things, honestly. Like, and I say it too, like even like if you're a very, very good top individual athlete, doesn't necessarily make you, you're gonna think you're gonna make a good teams athlete. And same thing, like if you're a top team athlete, doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be a great individual athlete. Like they're just two, they're it's so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's why, like, after a team, like I had no, like it, like you said, it takes time. It's not just like I'm gonna win the CrossFit Games on a team and expect to go to the games as a individual the next year. Like it does not work like that, and I'm not sitting here saying that it does work like that. It's just they're so different. They really are. And I feel like even like some of those individual athletes, like I watched the tier like Wadapalooza Cup thing, like they got a taste of it. It's like it's not the easiest. It's like, I mean, sometimes it looks like from an outsider looking in, like it can feel like, oh, that looks fun, easy, this and that. But like it's a lot more than just being able to sink some chest to bar pull-ups and I don't know.
Let's go back to Saturday, this last Saturday. You come
Mhm.
off a win in the morning, have a great performance, time holds up, get 100 points, surge up the leaderboard relative to the previous day. And then there's a back-to-back workout that afternoon. I feel like back-to-back workouts like this pop up sporadically. Like they're not that common to see two scores with like a 1 or 2 minute rest in between. I personally really like them. I think that it tests an element of fitness it's difficult to test outside of something set up like that. When you looked at those two workouts prior to them, how because people can make a decision, right? Especially with the first workout having such a demanding movement in the strict deficit handstand push-up, and they can say, I'm amazing at those, I'm going for this, I'll deal with the second one however it is, or the other way around, I'm not great at these, I'm not going to kill myself here because I really think I can attack the second one. And then there's of course athletes that are like pretty good at both. I don't know, like where did you fall on that, and how do you approach a workout like a 2-part workout like that?
So I knew that the the C2 drag rope double under and the C2 bike one was a really, really good workout for me. If you were to ask me a couple months ago if I could do a strict handstand push-up at a 5-inch deficit, I would have said absolutely not. Wow. Jami has made me a presser, and I don't know where it came from, but
oh damn, I have to give him a call. It's my worst thing by far.
Yeah. I think that was like one of the most frustrating things, like even with my team, like when I was on team, like you give me any type of strict handstand push-up wall facing. Oh my God. Do you remember the wall facing handstand push-ups at the games in 2022? Yes. I could not do a single one. Like Devin did all of those because I've never been, handstand push-ups have been so hard for me. And yeah, so when I saw that workout be announced, one, I was like excited because it was something that I have been working on, and I was really excited to show it. But at the same time, I almost looked at that too as like a damage control workout for me. And I'm actually surprised how great I did at it. Cause yeah, pressing.
And I just want to interject for people who don't know. It was her second to worst finish of the weekend. And her perspective is that it was great.
Yeah. It was.
That's a great perspective.
I couldn't have done any better. Like it was, like the first time I tested that workout in training, I time capped. And then over those 3 weeks, we just like did a significant amount of more pressing, and like, cause we had been working a lot of like wall facing and just regular strict. But we hadn't been doing a lot at different deficits. So yeah, I was really surprised that I could do one, because if you would have asked me to do that a few months ago, I don't know if I could have done a single one. So yeah, so that first workout, I was like, okay, you just need to finish this. And then the second one, you need to like go hard, really fast. So that's what I did. I had like a plan. I was like, I'm going to go. Well, actually, I kind of threw my plan out the window. I was supposed to go 3-3 and then 3-2-1 and then 2-2-2 and then whatever I had left on round 4, I was supposed to go for. But instead, I felt so good. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go 3-3, and hopefully Yami doesn't get too mad at me. But yeah, we're working on like sticking to our plan, because I'm like the athlete, like where people are like, what's your plan for this workout? And I'm like, I'm going to go out hot and I'm going to stay hot, because that's always my plan.
Lynn, she's one step ahead of you, answering your question before you popped it in there.
Oh yeah. Did I tell her? Yeah. It was 3-3. 3-3.
What I noticed about Thursday, and this is one reason why I thought you were going to do so well, not Thursday, on Saturday, was, and why I thought you were going to propel yourself into that podium talk, was the workouts. That when I look at the workouts and when I physically watched them it seemed like those could almost be, they're like segments of a team workout.
Mm-hmm.
It had elements of team to them, and that's one reason why I thought, obviously I thought the pill that you do really well, and plus just the bar, but it seemed like a lot of those workouts on day 2 had a lot of team elements, and I think you even brought it up in one of your talks about your pacing and also your transitions, and you're very, and I think I talked to Brian about that you're a team athlete, knows more about, they practice transitioning so much that, and you could see that in how you're attacking each like element of the workout.
Yeah, because when you're on team, you don't want to be the last person there. It's like you want to get off the movement and you want to run and you want to get there, because so that's kind of like what I kept thinking. I was like, and like I don't know. I mean, I give a lot of props to Invictus for that, because like there was always like CJ would always compliment me like when I was transitioning into different things. Like I think you can make up a lot of time, just going and picking it up or doing the next movement. But you'll see a lot of people that don't do that, right? They go for chalk. Like I don't think I chalked a single time in that chest to bar pull-up workout. Yeah. I don't think I bent down and picked up chalk a single time. Like I don't even think to do that. I'm just like one thing to another. So
yeah, you definitely see it, because you're one of the few athletes. And I don't think, thinking back to, your team, it's like, it always seems like when you're going from, object to object or workout to workout, you're always like jogging.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and you were doing that in this competition. I hardly ever saw you walk. I mean, everything was even in day 3 in the Mad Moon workout, when you went over to yoke, you would, even though it was like maybe 3 feet, you would literally jog just those 2 feet to that deadlift bar. And just those small things. And I think, I don't know. I think that's built into who you are as an athlete, where you're constantly, that's your pacing thing, that's your timing. And, it really showed on day 2. And then it paid off dividends. I think just those small elements from being a team athlete, I think helped you on day 2 more than it helped other people.
Yeah. And I like just going into the weekend too, I was like, this is all about gaining experience. So why don't I just try to push where I can? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you learn from it and for next time. So
the story at the end of day 2 was pretty different than day 1. You moved from 13th to 6th, and the leader was about 19 points ahead of you, and then there were 3 girls within 17 points behind you. So 9 women within 40 points of each other after 2 days of competition, 2 events to go. How are you? Obviously the day 1 was what it was. Day 2 is pretty good. Where are you at mentally heading into the last day?
So I think after the 3rd workout, the morning workout on Saturday, I moved to 6th. And then after the last 2 in the afternoon on Saturday, I was in 1st going into.
Oh, I have the wrong. You're right.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, I knew that the first workout of the day on Sunday was a really good workout for me, even though the deadlift is pretty heavy. And I think I surprised some people on the deadlift too, because those were really slow reps, but I was
Melanie was
somehow,
impressed.
yeah,
Very impressed.
I just had in my mind, like, you cannot set this bar down. Like, you have got to hold on to this bar and you have got to push this run. And I didn't know anybody's time from the previous. I didn't know, like, I didn't look at the clock and think, oh, because I think Lindsay Lane finished like 10 seconds after me, but she was in the previous heat. Like, I had no idea what her and Fee got on the workout. So, and I wasn't looking at the clock. I was really just racing Lydia beside me. Thankfully, she was in there because, like, when
John
I
Young
finished the
wasn't
workout,
yelling to the times to you from the broadcast booth?
no, no. I didn't know. I didn't even, when I finished the workout, I didn't know that I won. Like, I was like, did I win? Like, did I and no one knew. I was like, okay. And then when they called me over to the booth, I was like, okay, well, maybe I did. So yeah. But I knew that workout was going to be good for me. And then the second workout, I love legless rope climbs. And if there was any kind of squat that you want me to do, even though it looks like my elbows are going to snap every time I do it, it would definitely be an overhead squat.
Hey, doesn't have to be pretty. Just got to get the work done. And it was that Mad Moon workout was kind of it was kind of cool.
I love that workout.
I think it's one of the best workouts that I've seen programmed in a competition in a while. It's great for elite athletes. You can do it in an affiliate. You know, obviously you can modify the weight on the deadlift, but more or less everybody can run or row. Everyone can do burpees over an object of some kind, and you can pick something up off the ground. It's just a phenomenal workout. The interesting thing from the scoring perspective was, I think it was 4 women that all scored within 5 points of each other. Like fourth place got about 95 points because the times were pretty tight.
Right.
And when you see a workout that's 22 and a half minutes and 4 women are finishing within 13 seconds of each other, like that's, and they're not all in the same heat. Like that's pretty crazy in terms of like the margin for error on a really on a long workout.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like it was a good programmed workout because you have to be good at you have to be somewhat good at running, you have to be somewhat good at burpees, and you have to be somewhat good at the deadlifts. Like there's really no, like you said, nowhere, like no room for error in something like that. So for me, I knew that I had to really push the run because I wasn't as strong as people on the deadlift bar. And I knew that it was going to be a little bit slower cycled than most of these girls. So that's kind of where I was like, yeah, but I guess you just have to pick where, like what movement you want to go a little bit harder on. Like even on the burpees, like Lydia was going so fast and I was like, okay, you cannot go that fast, Brittany, because then you're not gonna be able to lift up the bar. So I think you just had to play to your own. I mean, you just got to know yourself on a workout like that, really.
And those little details that Patrick talks about, that little jog to the bar on every round, if you save a second every time, you'll had the best score by 11 seconds. So
yeah,
half the time that you gain relative to your closest competitor is just on those little details. And how many times do we see people that take their time on that transition or do this little chalk thing like you talked about?
Yeah, I think every round, like even after the first set of burpees, I think Lydia would bend down and grab chalk and chalk her hands before she picked up the bar, and I would just walk and pick it up. So I think I kept like a little bit here and there on her every round.
Yeah. And there were some athletes when they were coming in from the run, right when they got into like the indoor part, they'd start walking where you would run right into. It was almost like you were doing like a flying burpee. You go right into. There was no stalling. It's like, hey, I have to get this first burpee done, otherwise, and then just keep moving.
Right.
And there are some athletes who would just like take a pause, take a breath, then go right into the same burpee. Where
exactly, yeah. Like I mean, when it comes to burpees, like you really just have to keep moving. Like it's not like that's why. Like, I mean, you're going to rest a little bit before the deadlift bar. So if you can come in and just keep going, like keep moving. And I always have in the back of my head is to just start. Like every time you move to a different movement, like you just have to start it. Like regardless if you're going to go unbroken on the bar this round, like just pick it up, do what you can, and then go from there.
How was the doing the burpees over the yoke. Was that, I mean, that's, I like that. I like that train of thought, because I mean, that could have easily been doing burpees over a bar and you pick up the bar, but it seemed like the yoke offered a little bit, a different element, well, an element that you're used to seeing, because, you know, being a games athlete, you're used to doing burpees, maybe going over an object.
Mhm.
And, you know,
I mean,
that,
I like it. It just slows down the burpee. You
yeah.
know, it's not like you're jumping over a bar.
Mhm.
And then some people like were telling me you should try and step over the bar, but I was not tall enough to step over the bar. So I think that just worked for taller people.
Taylor
Uh,
Swift looked like he was trying to do that.
yeah, but then again, I just like you know, I'm pretty conditioned, so I knew that I could,
Mhm.
you know, push the burpees a little bit, push the burpees a little bit after the run, just going into the deadlift.
That leaves us with one event to go. Do you are at that point in the weekend? Are you looking at the scoreboard?
Yeah, I was looking at the scoreboard then. I try to
And
stay off of it, like.
well, but this scoring format is it's like it's a little different. So, you know, if you're up 50 points compared to 10 points, there's like your mindset can change.
Right. Yeah. And like, I mean, yeah, this scoring system too, like, I think I was only like 23 points ahead of Lydia going into the final workout, I think. And that's not a lot of points with this scoring. Like, it's not at all. So, there was really, my goal going into that workout was just like, you cannot fail any reps and you have to make every single rep count, because if you do that, then you'll be okay.
I know that there's people that are interested in this here. We'll talk
Mhm.
about it in a second. It's showing basically the P score compared to the game score. But if we use game scoring with 30 people in the field, but when you like, you know, we talked about how you came into the weekend feeling pretty good. You have this kind of mindset of being back in a competitive environment. But of course, there's navigating the weekend, and Colton did say this on one of his interviews this weekend that it's a roller coaster for every single one of us. There's highs and there's lows. There's things that go great, and there's things that are frustrating. And they take tons of different shapes and sizes, but that's like a reality that we all go through. Uh, do you feel any kind of nerves, excitement, etc., as you're getting ready for that last event?
Yeah, I was nervous.
Mm.
Do you
I
know?
was, because I was like, you've come this far, like you literally have one workout left. Like, you know, I don't know. But for me, it's just like holding back, putting pressure on myself. Like, it's just like whenever I put pressure on myself with anything, when it comes to qualifiers, when it comes to anything, nothing goes the way that I want it to go. So, yeah, it was just um, trusting that I could do it. Like, I think I read this thing on Instagram. It was just like, I don't even remember what it said, but like, to just trust, like, trust that your body knows what it's like, even when you don't feel like you can do it, like your body knows what it's doing from all the training and all the hours that you've put in every single day. That like it's going to do its thing, you know, as long as you have it up here going into it, like, you know, trusting that what the work you've put in, um, it'll shine out there for sure. So
That workout was tough. I mean, legless rope climbs, thick rope climbs, some heavy overhead squats with two different implements. Was there at any point during that workout where you realized that you'd done enough, or was it not until you finished?
mm, I think when I got, like, I was pretty fast on the legless rope climbs, and I knew that if I got ahead a little bit there, I would be okay. And then I picked up the bar for the 145, and I think it finally set in, like, once I finished the 145 overhead squats, because I wasn't too far off from Fee, and she was moving fast.
Mhm.
So I knew if I got through the 145 overhead squats, that the thick rope, I actually didn't mind the thick rope. I mean, yeah, it blew up my grip, but it was pretty easy to, like, I had never practiced it. It was pretty easy to, like, get your feet in, stand. I liked it. And then the axle bar actually felt pretty heavy when I picked it up. I was like, well, this didn't feel like this in training. but I didn't do all these 6 events before this event when I practiced it. But yeah, I think it set in, I would say, after the first 12 overhead squats.
And then by the time you finished the workout, did you know that you'd won the competition?
Yeah, because of my time.
And feet probably helped
Because I was actually paying attention to people's times in the previous heat for this one, because I was like, I need to know like where I need to be.
And I mean, post competition, you always hear athletes say this, is that like it hasn't really sunk in yet, whatever the accomplishment is. But you did finish that workout. You had a good time. You knew that you'd won. And then later on in the day, you actually get to stand on the podium with the check on the top spot. Like you can do a whole career and never get to experience that. How conscious were you during the process from finishing that workout to standing on the podium later in the day of what you had achieved?
Man, I was actually like full of emotion. Like I could be emotional about it now, because like I've just put so much like, man.
We are happy. We're okay with emotions here. I always tell people, Patrick and I have both cried on this podcast.
Lots of time. It's fine.
I've just put a lot of work and like into myself and inside the gym and outside of the gym over the last few months, and it was really special. It's really special to be able to accomplish something like that, for sure.
And I know you had your mom there with you, but you've obviously traveled a lot through this sport, and you know people all over the world. And I can see some of the messages on the stuff you post publicly. Athletes have tons of different strategies or whatever of how they deal with social media and their phones during a competition weekend. But I'm sure that when you went back to your phone, whenever that was, that you had a lot of support there as well. And I don't know if you want to talk about what it means to have people like that in your life when you're chasing something that's so hard.
Yeah, my mom's amazing. Like, I was so thankful to have her there all weekend. And then my good friend Aniston, she came up, and she's in nursing school. So she had no business. Like she was literally out of school on Thursday, drove up Friday morning, had to be back at at the hospital Sunday afternoon. So she literally came for like my second workout on Friday and just like my 3 on Saturday. So that like meant a lot to me. And just to have Jami and like have a coach for once that like really truly believes in you is like such a special feeling. So yeah, I just have like so much support, like so many messages. Like I've been coaching a little bit at my home gym here, so I've had like so many people come like contact me from there. And yeah, just really, really thankful for like the people that are closest to me, for sure.
Lynn says you deserve the cry. You smashed it. Melanie says you have a lot to be proud of. And I appreciate the vulnerability. I mean, whether you can control it or not, because that stuff that Patrick and I told you at the start of the show about going on the road, making a decision to do this full time and try to tell these stories, like this is the reason why, is because I recognized a long time ago that there were going to be athletes that, whether it was a semifinals or a games, that they might be like achieving their lifelong goal in terms of this sport and get almost no recognition from it from the biggest stage, even if they're on the biggest stage. But that just to be there. And now at this point, I'm not even talking about the games or a semifinal. I'm talking about Crash Crucible this weekend. Just to get into that field is so hard. I know people that train every day, twice a day. They eat right, they sleep right. They're training with people better than them. They're coaching and programming. Their whole life is this sport. And they want to be in that field and they can't make it. And so for every person that's qualifying for the Crash Crucible, which is, a blip, compared to all these things that happen all year round, all over the world, like there's people like that everywhere that have worked really hard just to take a stall in the corral and get a chance to line up on those floors. And then when you narrow it down even more than that, to see the person who ends up winning a competition like that and what it means to you. You said you started this thing, entered your family's lives over a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
And as an individual, it's your highest achievement in the sport. And it's a great one. So I'm happy that people get to see that how much it means to you.
Thanks. Yeah, it does for sure.
And just, yeah. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. We're
That
happy
is-
with the emotions over here. I messaged
Yeah.
with you yesterday, Brittany, and you told me that you came to this competition to make a statement. You clearly did that, but that you don't feel like you're done. You almost feel like you're just getting started.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm a whole new athlete, really, like in terms of like not just physically but mentally, and I think I needed this just to give me even more confidence going into this next season. And I qualified for Dubai, so I need to I think I have like an hour to decide. Like I was still up in the air if I was actually going to do it, even though I qualified. Been kind of going back and forth with Jami, trying to figure out like if I should do Dubai or if I should try to do Wodapalooza, but I'm really just so over qualifiers that I don't think that I have it in me to do the Wodapalooza qualifier that's starting this weekend. So you will most likely see me in Dubai.
If you're there, then I will see you there. I'll be there
and
for
I'm
the
really
fourth time.
excited. Like I'm really excited about Dubai because this will be my third year competing there. But the past 2 years, I feel like it was always like I'm gonna go and just have fun. But this year, I really want to go and like I want to compete. Like I want to compete to the ability that I know that I can. So that's what I'm gonna do. I did these like when the qualifiers came out, I was like, Ali was trying to qualify. I was like, I'm just gonna do them. Like we'll test them, see what happens. I did them all like when they first came out 3.5 weeks ago. So I wasn't even like planning on really even making or competing in Dubai, but here we are. Been coming off that weekend. Yeah.
Well, and you said, you mentioned that you have competed in Dubai 3 times. I
Yeah.
went and checked. The first time you competed there was 2016.
Yeah.
It's like for people who
Yeah.
are just seeing you now win the competition and have this great performance, like do not let it be lost on you that to achieve these things in this sport takes time.
It does. It's like, yeah, like you have those people that it happens, they leave the teenage division, they qualify the next year, things try like happen relatively fast. But I've never been a naturally gifted athlete. Like I've never, like even in the sport of gymnastics, like I have to work really, really, really freaking hard for things. Like it's just, yeah, I'm just not, it doesn't come easy for me. Nothing really comes easy. So yeah, I've just been working my butt off and I'm really, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come for sure.
Well, I always want the athletes to make the decision that's best for them. But as I told you when we were exchanging some messages yesterday, I look at this women's field of the qualifiers for Dubai, and I see a ton of opportunity here. Like there's a lot of women that have different accomplishments at different points in their career, but I think this is a wide open field.
Yeah, it looks like a fun group. I mean, yeah, I'm like I said, I have to sign up within the next hour, I think. But you will most likely see me in Dubai in a few. How far are we out? What's today? I don't know.
Just under 2 months. Yeah, it's like December 8th, basically.
Couple months.
Yeah. But I mean, just looking, I mean, the Dubai made an announcement today. Their special announcements, barbell spin broke story.
Oh, I didn't know.
While we're on air, so they invited Freyova and Julia Kato to be a part of the field. So I think on my count, and I'm probably off maybe 1 or 2, but you're looking at 14 individual games athletes in this field out of 30.
Wow.
So,
Sweet.
which is, again, that's what you want to do. You want to test yourself. I mean, it started with Crash, and now you get to test yourself against some of the best in the world, especially in Europe and Oceania, because you have quite a few Oceania athletes in there too.
For sure.
Emily DeRoy, Gemma. Well, I guess they had Gemma Hawken. I mean, she's from South Africa, but there's some great competition there. And then Annika, who is kind of a similar position where you was trying to make it as an individual in terms of trying to get her first games but it's a very talented and deep field.
Yeah, I'm excited for sure.
Well, that was about 90 minutes, and it was a super fun 90 minutes for me, giving people a chance to learn a little bit about you and maybe the person behind the competitor that they got to see this weekend. But before we go, is there any kind of last things that you would want to say to someone who maybe doesn't know you or is looking forward to seeing you again at some point?
I don't know. Never give up. One foot in front of the other. Keep going.
Melanie wrote this a
We'll
few
get there
minutes
for
ago
sure.
while she was listening to you. The power of belief and believing in yourself, fighting through the adversities. We're all going to have them. Having a nice support crew around you and finding those people and keeping them close, because there's always the haters out there, but the people that are close to you are the ones that matter.
For sure. And I'm super thankful for those people.
Well, I know yeah, Patrick.
Before you go, have you heard about Reps Ahead?
Oh yeah, I wanted to know, how do I do that?
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, good to know.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
If you want somebody, if you need somebody, I'm right here.
We can probably help with that.
Okay, cool. That'd be fun for sure.
Okay, well, I'll see you on the road if not in Dubai, probably in Charleston.
Yeah,
and we'll look forward to it. Either way, nice sweatshirt.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Bye, Britt.
Brittany Weiss, champion of Crash Crucible this weekend, and hopefully, just for those of you who stuck with us, there a chance to see some of the the personality, the hard work, the commitment that's been going into this for 10 plus years to have an achievement like this. Obviously, she stood atop the games as a part of a team, but it's different to do it on your own. And as good as everything can look on the outside sometimes, like, these are real people. They're going through real things. There's real challenges on and off the floor, in and out of the gym. And it is like, it's meaningful to me to see the support that you guys are also offering to, not just her, but the rest of the athletes this weekend that had a really great experience. JR continues to put on some of the best competition performances, I'll say, in terms of organization and execution. And it allows for minimal distractions so that the athletes can do their stuff.
Yeah. I mean, everyone kind of knows like my relationship with the Invictus team from a couple of years ago. So I was able to see kind of firsthand about a lot of the struggles they went through. And you ask any one of them, they won the title that year, but it was the hardest year that they've ever had. But they all put it together. And then, just Brittany talked about so many times during this podcast about how she's changed as an athlete and as a person. And, that's nothing to say that she was someone else before. I think she's just evolved and evolved into this person where she's finally comfortable and happy who she is. And it shows, and it just not just shows in what she does in the gym, but what she also does like outside the gym, she just seems so much happier. She seems she's a good spot. I think Jami has paid dividends. I've seen the work that Yami's done with someone like Con Porter, and how Con is so respected. I mean, and then I can see that kind of going, him treating Brittany kind of, mentoring her and helping her along in that path, the kind of same way he's done with Con. And he's just such a great person, and he attracts great people. So that's just, that's a tribute to him. I mean, you look at someone like the training plan; they don't have like 20 games athletes because Yami's very selective. I mean, even when he brought in Brittany, he did research on her. He asked around, and he talked to her. There was a lot of getting to know each other before he decided to bring her on as an athlete. And he obviously saw that, and it's just good. And I'm happy for her. I can't wait to see what she does in Dubai, because it seems like she has a different focus going into Dubai than as opposed to last year. Like she said, last year she was just there to have some fun, and but now I think now that she's seen where she stacks up with some high level athletes, and she's beaten them. Now she gets a chance to do it again at a huge competition against some of the European best. I mean, we brought up that the leaderboard. I mean, but this was just announced by Barbell Spin. He previously announced that that there was 4 special spots, two given to men and women, which is contrary to what was originally put out, where they said they would take 30 from the qualifier. But hey, at the end of the day, it's your competition. You can do what you want to do. I don't think Saud or the organizers from the Dubai, I don't think they shouldn't deserve any criticism for that. I mean, but prepare for the unknown, right?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, so great. Do you want to talk about anything else? Do you want to look at any of the other stuff from Crash? Look at the men's stuff at all?
Yeah. Let's take a look at that real quick. Let me bring that up. So we in our preview show, if you haven't had a chance, go watch the preview show. I think you'll see a lot of our predictions and our what we discussed kind of spot on. And then when we talked about,
kind of,
yeah,
not.
Well,
I mean, but not spot on, because
yeah,
we all picked Taylor to win, and
yeah,
Colton
we did,
smashed the field.
Yes, and again, it's like I don't know why I don't know about you, but I continue. It's not like I don't underestimate Colton, but it just seems he always just blows my expectations away. Like, I know he's a great CrossFitter. We just haven't seen that CrossFitter at the games yet. We've seen him in everything else, but the games is a different test. But I think when it comes to like a field like this, it's just, yeah. I mean, he won 4 straight events, and
He
his
won
worst
4
finish.
straight events. Yeah. I would say the thing that more so than his performance, I don't think that I was really. We know that when something is good for him, it can be a win. And
Yeah,
the question in the Z score is, how big of a difference will it make on the leaderboard? For people who are curious, his total score with P score was about 664. With the game score, it would have been 656. So it's pretty close. And Taylor's was 584 and would have been 596. So it's basically like almost 20 points less of a margin, but it's still a significant margin. Are you pulling it? Have you pulled it up there? Yeah. The interesting thing about the Z score, just if you're curious, relative to game style scoring, it usually doesn't have a huge impact on the very top and very bottom of the leaderboard, but it can have an impact on the middle of the leaderboard. And so it was on the men's side, 1 through 6, nothing was changed. And then there were a few little jostlings for position. So it's
you
we'll
saw
show this here.
a lot more on the women's side, not from the podium. Well, actually, from the podium, we can
Yeah.
switch to the women's side. Brittany, the points pretty much the same. Then you get the fee. Game score, she's the third. The biggest is Lydia Fish. Now, Lydia Fish is like, she must hate P score.
Well, it's like all the women in 2nd through 6th would have changed spots by 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah.
And if you look at their total points in P score, it's only a 34-point spread, and then on the other score, it's a 20-point spread. So this is like, actually no, 508 for Kyra. So if we go 508 to 476, it's about the same spread. So basically, these are a group of women that what I look at this is, on any given weekend, they can all kind of beat each other. And it may come down to execution things, a judging call, a nutrition thing, trip on a drag ropes. There's small things that can make these differences over a weekend. And yeah, so like someone's obviously going to take a hit on one compared to the other if you have these little changes. But overall, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Well, I want to correct myself. Lydia, she shouldn't hate P score, because last year P score kind of took a win away from her. Not take away. I mean, that's just that was the system he used. She would have finished first in traditional scoring. This year, traditional scoring played in her favor, where she finished third on the podium. Game scoring would have had her in 5th. So, yeah.
The biggest outlier here is Kyra's score. There's the points of a 48-point difference, and also 2 spots on the leaderboard. And it mostly is going to account for, if you look at like midline sadness there. She's only yielding 1.6 points is what it's showing. And in that style of scoring, she's going to gain 22 points. I think she gets 24 in the other system. So she's not penalized as harshly. And that's the other side of P-score. If you're really good or really bad at something is where it makes a big impact. But on the back to the Colton thing, no, not this one. SPM, his running. Yeah, Colton's running was great, but the bike workout also great. The thing that actually surprised me the most, and it's not that he did poorly on this, was how much separation there was in terms of both time and points between Colton and Taylor, specifically on those two events. Everything up to that point kind of went the way that I thought it would. I wasn't sure about Taylor on the strict deficit handstand push-up workout. I know he's not bad at those. I just didn't know because Colton's so good at that. And he took his biggest hit of the weekend there. But to go sixth and get basically lose 36 points to Colton on a biking double under and then running burpee deadlift workout, I wasn't expecting that. And that Colton, still could have won with those 36 points, but it would have been a lot closer to what I thought.
Yeah, I really thought that Taylor would, especially the last day, those workouts, they seem more like those are Taylor self workouts as opposed to Colton Merton's workout. And granted, Taylor did finish better in that last workout, but it was pretty much over by then. But I was really surprised by Taylor's workout. And I knew he wasn't the best when it comes to deadlifts, but I thought that he would make up that deficit in the run. But it just seemed like, and the burpees. But I think, I just think I think it's not, I don't think it's anything he did. I think it was just that field in front of him. They just were better. Colton's a much better runner now, a more efficient runner. Chris Ibarra was, we know he's a good runner. Matt Krieg is someone I discussed. That's someone to keep an eye out. He surprised me on that run. Finishing second in that workout, and he's a bigger guy. And
this was the one we expected, Colton to smash the deficit handstand push-ups. But the two after that were, to me, where he really won the weekend.
Yes, I think so. Once he hit Mad Moon and he won it was over. Because that was the one workout where I think that anyone from Taylor to Ibarra to Nick Matthew or Drake Lewis, any of those guys who I thought would be in the top 10 would put some distance and put some points and space between him.
And if we're looking at the top 10 here, we talked about every guy on this list other than Porter and Wise. You had said that Krieg was a sneaky top 5 threatened podium. He had a great weekend. I had said the same about Drake, pending how he was feeling coming off of Summit Games. I haven't talked to him, but to compete on back-to-back weekends is obviously tough. I think we were spot on with Nick. We said, he's going to be in the top 10. We don't know exactly where, but I don't think he can keep up with the top 3. Everybody basically said the top 3 are the top 3, and it shook out that way. There were gaps between those 3, but the men's podium was more or less what people expected in some order or another. And the women's podium, you and I did not have Brittany. Lynn said, me and Perrin. I think I also picked Lydia for podium. I think I picked Stanley, Kerstetter, and Lydia.
I think I went Kerstetter, Milligan, and V. I think maybe, or no, Stanley. So,
and I mean, quite frankly, the women's results, there were some surprising results. I wouldn't have. I would say everyone in the top 10. If the 2 that we didn't really talk about in the top 10 were Chevrolet and Sanders. But we mentioned them, but we didn't maybe expect them to do this well.
No, especially Sanders. I mean, Caitlin, that she just looked like a different athlete out there.
Best I've ever seen her look. Yeah.
Yes, by far. Kyra, I thought, did a great job. Just like she had a tough, midline sadness, a tough workout for her, but she did a good job of just coming back from that. A couple top 5 finishes or 3 top 5 finishes there. She was in a hole all weekend fight. She was in the last heats. So it's hard to motivate.
Well, and as we mentioned, she was really, of those top athletes, the one that took the biggest brunt of the P-score, because she had that one really bad workout. But then even on those other ones where she's finishing third, fourth, fifth, sixth, she's getting less points than she would in a normal scoring system. So not having that, and it's the same for Chris Ibarra, really, like not having those 198s, 96s hurts you in P score, because even if you're having solidly in the top 10, you're bleeding points slowly instead of quickly. You know,
And it's
Chris,
the same thing.
Because that's the thing about Chris did have some good workouts, 1, 2, 3s, but everything else was 7 to 14. And he's like, he is very consistent. He's not going to take a massive hit on anything, but you just, you know, it's a little different from the scoring there.
I mean, I look at the, you know, besides the top 10 athletes there, we talked about this. We talked about some of the other athletes to keep an eye on. We talked about Nina. We talked about Morgan Porter. I brought up Faith Ferguson. I was really interested to see how she did, and she did pretty well. I know Emma Harving, she wasn't really happy with her performance because she's another one, peaks and valleys, you know, 18th, 3rd, 23rd, 19th, 19th, 20th, and a first, you know. And then Jordan Sheff. I mean, I was not expecting that performance from her. And we've seen a lot of Jordan Sheffs, especially in the semifinal format. And a big surprise there. I did. Yeah.
Well, I think that some of her biggest holes were exposed this weekend.
Which is, I think it's a good thing for her to see those, though, to see that in competition.
And we have seen, like, you know, this is a thing that we've been talking about a bit. It's like, how well does a performance in an off-season competition correlate with something, you know, great in the game season, for example? And there have been people who have, you know, pointed out that especially on the men's side, but also on the women's side, there have been some good, you know, someone was calling this like the proving grounds. There's been some good performances at Crucible that have catapulted people into success within the game season. But I don't think it's necessarily true up and down the leaderboard. Like, because you have a bad performance there does not necessarily mean that you'll have a bad performance at the game season, because unless you're making it to the CrossFit Games, which is a win for everyone, there's specific things that JR tests, which is how we kind of, almost everyone who's talked about this competition acknowledges this. It's something I said 2 years ago. This is a games level programming for a semifinal caliber field and expression of fitness. It's only 7 scored events over 3 days. That's a semifinal. But the elements that will be tested during those 3 days will incorporate things that you likely won't see unless you qualify for the games within the context of the CrossFit Games season. So if you do good there, that's usually a good sign. If you do bad there, it's not necessarily a bad sign, especially if you're able to adopt the mindset that you were just referencing and Brittany talked about of learning and growing and walking away from the competition, win or lose, with, you know, valuable pieces of information to assess. And Jordan works with Seth from Jump Shift, and, you know, they will obviously would be doing that. So
and I was doing that with Morgan Porter all weekend. Obviously, she's someone I know really well, and you know, that was, you know, she kind of came in just like, hey, I mean, these women, they're all so good, blah blah blah, and I'm like, hey, just go there and have fun, and this is you're collecting data points. You're collecting things on what you need to improve on, and the things that she thought she was going to do the worst on, she actually did the best. And for an athlete like her to kind of up and comer, not too much individual competition experience, you know, she's completely happy. And there's going to be other athletes up and down the board where they're getting those data points. Someone like, you know, Faith Ferguson, who's taken a, you know, couple years off or whatever from competition. Now she knows where she's at if she wants to, you know, go take this to continue on. Someone like Nina's kind of in a similar boat as Morgan, where, you know, she's still relatively new to the field. So more competition she can get under her belt, the more data points, the more things her and her coaches can learn about. You know, I think Dom is her coach at Mayhem, and Morgan's coach is Taylor. So Taylor got to see Morgan in person and see and provide her some of those tips. So let's talk about, because they didn't get much, there wasn't much coverage of them on the broadcast, but let's talk about the Masters, because we did do a kind of a preview of them, but let's talk real quickly about them. You know, Mitch Wagner kind of taking the win. in the men's masters. There's obviously some familiar names there. Kevin Steinhaus, Mitch McClune, Joshua Murillo, who we know. So any big surprises there?
Mm, no, I think that 1 through 6 are kind of the guys. Maybe Spencer was a little bit of an unknown, but I've seen him compete before. But the other 5 guys were the kind of guys that I said I would expect to be in the top. And Eric Thomas was sort of the wild card I wasn't too sure about. He hung
Mhm.
in really good, but I mean, ultimately, this was just Mitch Wagner laying waste to the field. He had nothing but first and second place finishes. His lowest, he did take 85 points on one of the workouts because Travis Flanagan just destroyed the bike and double under, beating the field by like 40 seconds on a 7-minute workout. But yeah, I mean, Wagner was in a class of his own here. And, Rick Jones had done those kind of winner things. And
Yeah.
I can't remember what song it was that Mitch had told him, but it was perfect for something like about redefining himself for a new athlete. And he just it just fit with how he crushed this weekend.
Yeah. Looking at
those winter graphics that Rick did were phenomenal.
Amazing. And that was kind of a last minute thing that he came up with. So from the create those layers.
I think the song was last minute to add the songs in or to ask athletes for songs, but I know that he had wanted to do that. I think he's been wanting to do that. And JR just which obviously he should. JR just trusts him, yeah, here, go for it, do your thing. That's why I have you here, and I always will.
Trust, yeah. And I think that's definitely something I've talked to Phil about, kind of maybe incorporating with reps ahead, is kind of like walkout music, stuff like that, just like UFC does.
Shit,
But
and graphics like that for the winner, that's like an easy thing to do. You got you got to see just some personalities. You could have the Haley Marios and the Liz Wizharts with the big smiles and all this stuff, and then you can also have the Colton Mertens that's kind of standing there yeah, I won. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, we could do that, especially for reps head. The athletes come in a day before, and we can shoot some B-roll next, or for that, because you see it. I see it all the time in college athletics, where they have their media day, where they do all their headshots, team shots, and they'll bring a videographer, and each person will have their own walkout, pose or something like that, faking screaming, and you'll see that on the video board during the games. You see that in all the professional sports. You see that Monday Night Football whenever they announce, or Sunday Night Football when they announce what college and whatever. A chance for the athlete's personality come out. It always reminds me of that skit, the Keel and Peele skit, where where they're announcing themselves like the college all stars, and they just have ridiculous names and outfits on. But on this, Eric Thomas, probably the I guess not beneficiary of P score, but what it did, in traditional scoring, because you do see, especially in the Masters, they're kind of most of these guys are used to traditional.
It's also a good general statement. We know from testing P score, Tyler and I have been testing P score for years, that too small of a field, too big of a field, it's kind of weird. There's definitely a sweet spot. I would say 20 to 40 athletes is really a sweet spot. 30 is probably perfect, honestly, as long as they're all competitive and competing. If you have smaller fields, and especially when we get to the women's field, well, you'll see that there was kind of 3 women in a tier of their own, and then another group of 5. There's going to be, I would say there's more deviations or margins for error there than if you have the right size. It's the same thing with workouts. The more workouts, the better, and up to a certain point, the more athletes, the better.
Yeah. Something notable, and I brought this up with you, I think after the workout, I was obviously we talk about Mad Moon, about it being both of our favorite workouts. Mitch Wagner was the only man to finish that workout under the 24-minute cap. The next closest person was capped with 7 reps, so he still had 6 deadlifts to do or something like that. So that's a significant amount of lead, and it just shows you just how tough that workout is, because these even though they're masters athletes, these are still freaking fit people. Some of these people are individual semifinal athletes, even though they're masters. So,
and that would have been, that workout for him would have been 10th amongst the elite field.
Yes.
So a solid performance, and a third of the elite men got capped on that too.
Yes. Female masters, we'll switch over to them real quick.
Honestly, it's one of the coolest podium pictures I've ever seen. All three
What's
of them
that?
are moms. All had their
Oh
kids
yeah,
up on the
yeah,
podium with them.
yeah.
And of these three, Mackenzie and Haley will be more recognizable to most people. I felt really happy for Stevie here.
Oh yeah.
She's been competing, a high level competitor on teams for years, and for her to actually go to this competition, and like you said, there wasn't a ton of coverage of it. I'm not exactly sure where the little nuances of how she gained these points over Mackenzie and Haley were, but to come away with a win against athletes like that, names like that, is a testament to her fitness and part of the reason why her teams have had success. So happy for all of them. Awesome podium picture, but definitely congrats to Stevie Dollinger. I would say similar to Brittany, like that's a career kind of accomplishment for her.
No, yeah, definitely. And in that workout, looking at Mad Moon again, only one woman finished workout. That was Haley Murillo. It's kind of funny because you heard Brittany talking about how she could hear Haley screaming at her about Lydia catching her and stuff like that. But Haley finishing that workout, I think she was only about a minute behind Brittany in that with her time compared to what Brittany put up. So yeah, again, just I can't not stop talking about that workout. It's a cool workout. It's something that I want to program here, and it's easy. It's kind of easy to program if you have the running space. So
there it is.
There's that picture you're talking about. All the moms. Yeah.
And I think Mackenzie put a good one up, like Instagram versus reality, same picture.
Yeah.
But then if you swipe to the right, it's a picture from a few seconds before where the kids are all the parents are like,
yeah. And then as you see the Masters, it's cool because again, we didn't get that much coverage of the Masters, but yeah, they got payouts too. So that was really cool. It's really cool for the athletes like Mackenzie Riley, who is a mom, is busy, former games athletes, still obviously can crush. So yeah, pretty neat.
And it's worth acknowledging. It's like JR spends a lot of time and energy to make sure that the athletes get rewarded for their work. I know he was really excited a few months ago when he knew that he was going to be able to provide event win bonuses. So it's just another detail of the commitment and work that goes in all year to make that possible.
Yeah. So as much as we get, as much as Crash Crucible has been a big topic discussion this weekend, and it was like the premier event, but it wasn't the only event. Obviously, it's CrossFit functional fitness. There's tons of events going on. Crash happened to be the most widely known, but there was another one that I thought that people should know about, and that was
in Lisbon.
In Lisbon, yeah, Lisbon, Portugal. And you don't hear about Portugal much when it comes to like CrossFit and athletes. It's not like a hotbed of CrossFit, but what was it called?
But there is an athlete there from Portugal, Tiago Luchas, who ended up winning this competition, and he also qualified for Dubai this year. That I think I highlighted him like 2-3 years ago as an up and comer to watch, and he's just like, he hasn't done it. Like he just keeps like coming and fading. So now that he's won this event and he's going to be competing in Dubai at a great qualifier performance there, like I'm curious if he's finally going to do something notable, 2-3 years after I first started thinking he had the chance to.
Yeah. And our friends from Tier, bravo for them for being the title sponsor for this competition in Lisbon. There's a pretty cool thing. What I liked about this, and this reminds me of what you did in Pamplona, is they had a workout here, and I think this is Tiago right here, actually. The first workout, I think it was called like See Lisbon or something like that. And it was a workout where they pretty much did it in the streets of Lisbon. Here's him running.
It looks very similar to that first workout from Pamplona last year. Yeah. This especially.
This is really cool, especially for the hometown guy to kind of like, be followed in doing this. So it was really cool. Yeah, I see you, Lisbon. That's what it's called, Event 1. We'll take a look at that leaderboard real quick.
Well, on the side, he ends up. You start with the women. Let's go to the men first because we were talking about Tiago.
We were just talking about the men, yeah.
But Tiago wasn't winning the entire weekend. And the guy who finished second, Philroy Peters, ends up taking second place there. He was out to the early lead. We've talked about him before. He's an athlete out of the UK that's kind of young, tall, fit, struggles basically with overhead pressing, but he seems to be semifinal quality in everything else. And so I wasn't that surprised to see those two guys filtered to the top. I don't know why this is. Oh, it's I see how it's showing it. But the guy who got third, also Portuguese, I guess. I'd never heard of him. I asked some friends over there, and they said he primarily does weightlifting. So pretty surprising performance by him there. The guy who got fourth, actually, I think also is in a qualifying spot for Dubai. So maybe we'll be seeing more of him. And then Anastas Artemis, who I would have picked to win this competition, he got off to a terrible start, 18th on that running event, and he fought his way back up and is up finishing fifth. Also qualified for Dubai this year, which will be the biggest stage for him to get a chance to compete on. So there's some athletes in this field, Tiago, Alejandro, Anastas, who had good weekends and will also be competing on a bigger stage in Dubai in 2 months.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the same on the women's side. The winner here is an athlete who has had some success on a team. She was on one of the Oslo teams this year, and I got to train with her and her team for a couple of days in Norway. But she had told me she might do some individual competing this off season. I actually learned a ton about her background and this, similarly to Brittany, like the amount of time and struggle and effort and obstacles that have come and gone in her life. She's a police officer in Switzerland and takes down this competition against, the four women that are immediately behind her, or I guess five, with Sylvia Garcia, who we know from the tour, Nortje Bleeker, who's had some breakout performances here and there, Alazna Igliazabla, who's up and comer in Spain. She's constantly competing in that region. Elena Karatala, who's been has made the games. Julia Błaszczykowska, who's top in Poland. That's a pretty stout group of women with a lot of competitive experience, and for Nicole to come out on top there is great. And she's going to be also competing in Dubai. There was another, Diana Panchik, who took eighth. She actually qualified for Dubai as well from the Ukraine. I don't know too much about her, so it's fun to see her here and have a little bit of data. I sent this leaderboard to Barkley so you can hopefully upload it to the database before Dubai. Madeline Patterson, she was 18th at semifinals a couple years ago, coming off of an injury. I know this, the result is what it is, but overall the performance was really good one for her and her coach, Henrik Wilhelmer out of Sweden. Iris in 10th has competed on the 10K capital team out of Finland at the semifinals, I think the last 2 years. She's also the demo athlete for Turko Tumiopaiva. So maybe not names that everyone is familiar with here, but a good group of women. Nelly Nurmia is the one I skipped over in 7th. She podiumed at Turko Tumiopaiva as well this year. So it was actually a pretty good group of women competing out there. Open style scoring, so that's where the points are what they are. And Nicole kind of had a pretty commanding lead, but it was kind of up and down with a lot of athletes changing places. I think Nora Bleeker closed pretty hard to get that final podium spot by 1 point. Just not really, just consistent across the board. So no first or second, but nothing worse than 6th. So consistency pays off.
Yeah, it looks like that 10th place, it looked like came down to
and this makes sense to me. Like Alazna is an athlete who's amazing at certain things and struggles with other things. So her having the best and worst finish with Nora having all middle makes total sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so that went on this weekend internationally. I guess kind of some breaking news. I kind of referred to it earlier. Spin kind of broke this. The final two. Well, I guess because like Brittany says, the deadline is I think 26 minutes for Rogue. I mean, not for Rogue, for Dubai. So you're probably gonna see, because there's names on that women's leaderboard like Kristen Holta. She did the workouts to help her athletes kind of just see. She was kind of like the guinea pig. So and she finished I think
13th.
top 13th. Yeah. She was doing that because
you are going to get it. I don't know if she's doing Dubai, but you will have a chance to see her compete if you want to 2 weeks from now at Oslo Throwdown.
We will be there with her coach. How often do you how often do you? And Joachim he's a fit guy. I mean,
he's no joke. He is he's a savage.
Yeah, he is. I've been. it's been a pleasure knowing him the last couple of years, and then just but yeah.
I
But
thought
I don't think
it's not
I don't.
such a pleasure working out with him. It
Yeah,
makes me feel bad.
I don't see Holta competing as an individual because her last individual competition was at Dubai, and there was, we were both there. They made a big deal out of it. They had a ceremony. It was a really emotional thing for her. I mean, I think we'll see Holta if we do see her return to competition. I could see her coming back as a team athlete more than anything, and then maybe doing. I mean, she's just fit. She's doing workout. And, yeah. I but but yeah, so you'll see other names because I know other names that probably won't make the trip. I mean, you heard someone like Brittany who's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, she wants to. I think she will, but there will be other athletes on that top, the in the top 27 that won't accept their invite for whatever reason, whether it be a financial or maybe they're just burnt out or just whatever. There's another opportunity for them, but there's 4 spots. Spencer Panchak. I do not know this guy, and maybe
Oh,
I imagine, yeah, Rudon.
I'll 1 second. But yeah, these invited spots are Saud and I talked about them a while ago.
Mhm.
So it was supposed to be Karen and Roman, the champions from last year, which I think makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and Julia
Yeah, she's
Saud
local.
is actually honoring a bet that he lost to her last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. You okay? Can you tell that story?
It was the elimination style workout.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact details of what she said to him, but basically she said, like, if I do this, win the workout or make the last heat or whatever it was, I want to invite next year or something. And he was like he's like, okay, like didn't think there was any chance. In the first round, 20 athletes made it through. She was 20th. In the next round,
Yeah.
10 athletes made it through. She was 10th. She kept making it by 1 spot. And he was like, what the hell? And she ended up winning the bet. And
Yeah.
you know what? He made the bet. He's following through on his promise. So good for him. And I'm not exactly sure of the circumstances with Spencer, but with
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to, as maybe when we do our preview of Dubai, maybe we earmark there and ask him, how Spencer. I would never thought someone like Spencer, especially this offseason since Spencer's dedicated a lot of time into tactical games, since semifinals. He even started his own like Instagram for tactic, like Spencer. I think it's called Spencer Shoots or something like that. But he's really taken
sounds like
in.
photography. But
uh,
this guy, he's from Morocco.
okay.
So after Roman obviously was not going to be able to do this, which we knew a while ago, and he's been posting. I mean, we can show his post from today to update people if we want. This was a selection with in conjunction with Perform Athletics, who's a supporter of the competition, and also something that Saud's really liked to do for a long time, and I like it too, is to have some Arab representation in the field. In general, when it comes to competitions, I'm a huge fan of being able to attract international athletes or foreign athletes, whatever that means. But I also really like when there are like the best local athletes that get a chance to compete, and whatever that looks like to kind of get them in the field. I mean, even if you're looking at Crash, where it's like mostly regional to the southeast, but you have 1 or 2 athletes from Crash that are competing there and they've earned their way in. But I don't even mind holding a couple spots in a field for something like this. I think
Yeah.
that giving the best people from your area, whatever that means, a chance to compete against the best people who are traveling there is a really unique and cool thing about sport in general. So that's kind of the story behind him.
No. Well, it looks like he won Phoenix Games. Who we this was one of the competitions we failed to talk about. But yeah, looks like he was champion of Phoenix Games. So that's good. Phoenix Games is one. It's held in what's it, Qatar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Doha. It's held in Doha, so it's one of those competitions that are kind of like we've been tracking and hopefully we can make it out there. But it's a fairly, I think when the Phoenix Games, I think Jamie Simmons competed there, Evie Hollis. I think it was all team though.
Yeah.
Sola's out there. She was on a team as well. But no, I mean it looks like the guy has some high level competition experience, so that's good.
Can you pull up Roman's post?
Yes, that was my next thing. We can.
So
So
Roman did communicate to Dubai pretty early on that he wasn't going to be able to do that. And it was, I don't know, 10 days later that he made his first announcement about pulling out of both Rogue and Dubai, and cited an injury that had occurred to him during a semifinal, affected him at the games, has prevented him from doing the tier SoCal that he previously committed to, and also is now going to prevent him from doing Rogue and Dubai. And he put this update out today. Basically walking you through that a little bit and saying that after a second opinion, he was diagnosed with and I'm going to say it Spanish, anterosuperior labrum tear in the
yeah,
backside. So he's going to go through and cam morphology of the left femur. Wow, those are totally two different things.
yeah.
I missed that the first time I read through it. Anyway, he's basically follows it up by saying he's going to go through the procedures, and you'll see me again, and nobody cares.
Well, Roman's wrong. You know, there are people that care.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I mean, this is going to be a tough one. I mean, it sounds like hip surgery. You know, I
Well,
mean,
here's the thing: is like we do care. We care about you, Roman. Obviously, you are one of the toughest, people that we know, and we want all the procedures to go well, and we hope that what he said here about being back to quote unquote race for the title by February, whatever that looks like next year, clearly is still at the forefront of his mind, and just knowing him, like whatever it takes, he'll do, and whatever
yeah.
that rehab process looks like. So yeah, it's like it's nice to have a little update. I like this just makes me wonder, because I remember telling someone on Friday at the games when I was still there. I think I told them Buttery Bros. I said Roman's gonna win this thing, and and I didn't know he was injured. But based on the way that everything went, I feel like if he was healthy, he probably would have won without Adler in the field, and with just the way that everything was going. At the baseline, and we kind of talked about this when we looked at John's mountain last week, but I think this is one of the top 3 guys in the sport when he's healthy, and over the last couple of years. And anytime he's in the field, he's a person that if you want to win, you have to look at him to try to. I have to beat him if I want to win. There may be 1 or 2 others, and it'll be a bummer to not have him at Rogue, bummer to not have him in Dubai. He loves competing, and he loves competing. He always competes well and puts on a show, but injuries is a part of sport. I think he's making the best decision here, and hopefully we'll see him again sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And I think if anyone, I mean, Roman's been through so much in terms of not just physically, but just like, his trials and tribulations. I mean, they're well known, like him leaving Russia, leaving his family, and then, dealing with the stress of bringing his family here. I mean, he hasn't lived an easy life, and he doesn't want people to feel sorry for him. He never has asked for people to feel sorry for him. This is just him making a statement like, this is what's going on. So that way you guys know. He's not making excuses. This is obviously a serious thing. And if anyone can come back from it, it's Roman. Roman can definitely come back from something like this. So.
Maybe a long shot, I don't know, but he did post something a couple hours ago on his stories, just basically saying if you know a doctor who specializes in this type of procedure, let him know.
I mean, it sounds like he needs to come to Germany, but it seems like all these experimental procedures all happen in Germany. I mean, I think that's where Christian McCaffrey, he flew like to Germany here, like when he got diagnosed with his Achilles stuff. And I know famously like LeBron and Peyton Manning have come here. So hey, maybe I'll do some research for him. Maybe find a doctor here in Germany. Don't go. Yeah, I wouldn't go down south in Mexico to get anything done. Yeah, here it is. That poster said.
Okay. Saw this question from T-Bird. Are we going to do a preview with Bella? I don't think it's going to work with Bella. She's in Australia. Yeah. Time zones are weird. We've been trying to line up something with a few people from there. Patrick and I are going to do a show previewing Down Under regardless. Sometime tomorrow. We haven't decided on the exact time yet. But I don't think Bella is going to be involved in it, unfortunately. She always gives some amazing perspectives on the athletes from Oceania. and she will this weekend if you're able to follow the stream. The stream was a little bit unknown at first. Pay attention to their stuff if you want to watch it. They did find, we thought we may have an opportunity to help them out, but they ended up finding someone locally who's going to be able to do it for them. So there should be a live stream. Jeremy Austin, of course, will be there. Bella will be there. Not sure who else, but at the, when it comes to the athletes on there, you don't need much else besides those two. Like, they're going to do great. Yeah, we will always invite her for stuff like this, but she's got a pretty crazy schedule. She's almost never in the same time zones as us. And when it works, she always comes on. The Spaniards are out there, Ricky and Añol, missing an eye there, but we know who you mean.
And Jake Marconi. Jake Marconi's out there. Don't forget Jake Marconi.
Jake Marconi and Jake Douglas.
Jake Marconi.
And Callum Clements is competing with Pablo Cazales. Pablo is he's been on their team, the training culture team, a couple years, and Callum obviously broke through this year and made it to the games. He also qualified for Dubai, so you get to see him again in a couple months. And it's cool to have the Spanish representation there. The HWPO team is out there. Obviously, they have a couple athletes competing. They're involved, I'm not sure, with the programming or the competition in some way. And I'm sure that they'll be doing, as they always do, seminars and activations in gyms and stuff. So if you're local to the area, Wollongong, definitely be on the lookout for HWPO doing some stuff. Those, when we've been at those events that they put on, and they, it's well thought out. It's for everybody, and then they'll stay around afterwards, and you can have a chance to take a picture and say hi to Matt and hang out with those guys almost all the time. So,
well, they're typically known for their after party too. That's what Ricky always tells me. He's like, you just need to come just for the after party. But
we
also,
absolutely want to go to Australia, and
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it's got some things need to line up for that to happen, but you're not the only one who would love that.
But Melanie, there's some other regions in the world that we're going to be hitting up that are going to be first for B.Friendly. But Australia and competition in South America are definitely high on our list. Obviously, we've done a great job with Europe. Brian's about to leave for his Euro trip, his month-long Euro trip. As for Bella, we're hoping to get her on maybe to do a recap and maybe a preview for the New Zealand Nationals. Or maybe combine that after New Zealand Nationals and do a total Oceania recap from those two competitions, because those are pretty much back to back, because that's what she'll be doing. So pretty excited for her and those, the opportunity she's made for herself. And Linda Keisman.
Good shout, Lynn. Yeah. I don't have the full roster, but we'll break down. Yeah. We'll look at down under in depth tomorrow.
Yeah, Amy Kringle, I think she's going straight from Bali. Her trip to Bali there too. So I mean, it's a good field. It's a really good field. Obviously, down under, it's we're in the thick of things, man. It's cool. It's there's a lot of cool stuff going on leading up to Rogue. Obviously, we got Reps Ahead coming up in November. We'll have some great announcements on Reps Ahead. The lineup has been set for Reps Ahead, so I think you guys are gonna really like who we have for this.
You're talking about this Puerto Rico competition. It's like Beetle Extravaganza. I am aware of it. It's I know one of the people who's involved with it. They actually talked to us about potentially being there. Couldn't make it this year. Already had something on the schedule, but it seems like it's pretty good. I don't know if you know more about it, John.
There's quite a few names that I'm trying to remember who else told me about that they were going to compete there. But I think Lena Richter's going to be competing there as well.
She is. I think she's doing that right before she heads back to
Norway Europe. She's coming back. Good catch on it. And by the way, good job, Ortega, this weekend. Saw you're dominating that stream. But no, great job on all the content you guys put up. That was pretty cool. Great stuff, man. Appreciate everything you do. But that's about it. Again, one of our more longer shows, but I think having Brittany on for an hour and a half to kind of tell her story.
Yeah, if you joined late, it's a good listen. It hasn't been an easy ride. It often isn't for these athletes. It's a great accomplishment what she did this weekend for her and for anyone in general. So, I think it's good perspective for people.
Yeah, and we've known Brittany for a while. We were both talking to her this weekend, and that everything she says does come from the heart, because that's stuff that she was telling us too. And we're excited. excited that she was able to come on with us. So, but yeah, so yeah, we have Down Under. We will set a time for that. Hopefully, have a guest on for that kind of help us out with that. Um, we probably don't really need someone Australian because it looks like a pretty decent international field is going to be there as well. So yeah, and then yeah, we got that. Next week we have an Oslo. Oh, Ortega, you coming?
Oh, baby.
All right,
Good.
that's good to know. That's what I just heard, that he's coming. We'll talk some more, Ortega. But yeah, we got that. Next week we'll have our Oslo Throwdown. We're gonna have we'll have Roger and
No, I think it's on Saturday.
oh yeah, it's Saturday. Okay.
We
Right.
should be doing like
Oh,
event release.
That's
show.
it. So we don't have a show next week. So so that'll be our reveal and preview on Saturday.
I think so.
Okay. Okay. I'm just I have to do the scheduling here.
I know, but you know how it is with
Yeah. But Saturday, yeah, okay. I guess yeah, we'll figure it out. I mean, me and Roger are in the same time zone now, so I guess yeah. But yeah, then you hit the road for Oslo. I plan on coming up for a couple days. Marius is going to be there, so we'll have 3/4 of the B.Friendly team there. Yeah, Ortega says he just got my fights. That's good. So, but Ortega knows what's going on. If he's going there, then he knows it's a big deal. So, also talking about reps ahead, we'll probably bring this up when we start doing some of the announcements. We might have a show, maybe even talking about the announcements of who's competing, and maybe have a special guest or two, whether it be the athletes or your broadcast partner. That'd be cool if we can get your broadcast partner on. But yeah,
Andrew Hiller. Yeah, we definitely can get him on.
Yeah.
We'll be
So,
doing
but
some
that,
yeah, we'll be doing a series of podcasts leading up to reps ahead. But it's kind of, in North America, it's actually kind of winding down. Like there's Desert City, there's a Turkey Challenge and reps ahead. But there's not
pretty
like
much,
August
yeah.
and September, early October is like really dense in North America. Most of the rest of this year will be international for us. This weekend I'm not streaming any competitions, but starting after that, 8 weeks, 8 competitions, 8 countries, and only one of them, which is reps ahead weekend, is in the US.
Yeah, and I think I'll be at 3 of those 8 with you. Maybe, well, no, I'll be at 4, but if you count Fit Fest. But yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. I think one reason why you kind of see, I mean, it winds down, but then you have like the big qualifier for Wadapalooza going on next couple of weeks, 3
Oh,
weeks straight.
Fittest to the Coast, TFX, Wadapalooza qualifiers are all going on. And those 3 competitions are basically going to kickstart our 2025 schedule, last 2 weekends of January and first one of February. So
yeah. So we're trying to come up with a more accurate
I love it.
calendar.
Honestly, I love it when it happens. Like if I can do a month straight in the US, month in Europe, month everywhere else, like that's optimal. It can't be going back and forth week by week across the ocean.
That would kill you, man. It killed me just coming back here from California. It's like, oh man, but but it's worth it because I'm having so much fun right now, and it's yeah, it's just really cool. So, all right, shout out HRCBD. I know Carl was all over the talk. HRCBD rooting on their boy Taylor. During the competition. Thanks for your support as always. Always great talking to you guys and having you on board. Strike Movement, yeah, you guys are the best shoe in the game, I guess. I mean, I don't guess. I know because these babies. Ooh, look at that.
Have you worn them yet?
Once I wore them. These are the leather ones. I mean, like and then I finally were able to get my transits, my camo transits. I walk around
since January that you've been waiting for this.
Oh God, I walk around base with these, and people ask me like, where do you get those from? Where do you get those from? I'm like,
oh, dude, I bet that the Army would love that.
Yeah, and they're just like a really cool. It just looks cool, But yeah, so those, and I just ordered another pair because I had a gift certificate courtesy of Strike Movement that I ordered another pair. So yeah, but yeah, thanks a lot to our sponsors for that. Brian, thanks you for your time today. Thank you to everyone in the chat. All the great comments, the support for Brittany. That was really cool. I know she felt the love on that. There were some questions starred. Did you want to talk? No, I think we talked about all those already. So yeah. So, but everyone, thanks for joining us today. Again, we'll have a show tomorrow previewing Down Under, a stacked field. As far as I know, we're probably the only one that's going to be previewing Down Under. So just yeah, if you want to hear about that, we'll have more information on the stream hopefully tomorrow. And yeah, as always, be friendly, our friends.